My child, look around. Before you dismiss this as just another message, understand this. If you are hearing these words, it is not an accident. There are things around you that you have not fully seen, moments in your life that felt random, delays that felt painful, warnings you almost ignored. But I need you to listen carefully, because I have been watching you closer than you realize. Stay here. Do not skip ahead. Do not let distractions steal what your spirit needs to hear right now. Watch until the very end, because what I am about to reveal will make you rethink the closed doors, the hidden battles, the strange discomfort, and the moments you thought you were alone. This is not a light word. This is personal. This is timely. And if you leave too soon, you may miss the very truth your soul has been desperate to understand. My child, before you move any further, I need you to slow down and let this settle into your heart the way I intend it to. You have been moving through your days carrying more than most people around you realize. And even now, there is a part of you that still believes you are unnoticed in the places that matter most. You have learned how to keep your face steady when your thoughts are loud. You have learned how to answer simple questions with simple words while deeper things inside you remain untouched and unspoken. You have become skilled at surviving conversations without being truly known. But I need you to understand something that may unsettle you at first and comfort you a moment later if you let it. When I tell you to look around because I might be watching you, I am not speaking as a distant force or an accusing presence hiding in the shadows of your life. I am speaking as the Father who has never once lost sight of you, not even in the moments when you tried to disappear from everyone, including yourself. I have watched you sit in rooms full of people and still feel strangely alone. I have watched you reach for distractions because silence felt too revealing. I have seen the moments when your hand moved toward things that promised relief but only deepened the ache. I have watched your eyes grow tired from carrying emotions you did not know how to name. I have seen you revisit memories you said you were over. I have seen the private habits, the internal negotiations, the quiet compromises, the things you tell yourself are small enough not to matter, and the burdens you hide because you fear what would happen if someone truly understood what has been going on inside you. And still, I have not turned away. That is the part I need you to hear most clearly. I did not stay because you kept everything together. I did not remain close because you handled your struggles perfectly. I stayed because you are mine. You have misunderstood my nearness at times. You have felt conviction and assumed it meant rejection. You have felt discomfort and assumed it meant distance. You have sensed my presence near your weakest places and thought perhaps I came there to expose you. But I want you to know the truth before fear tells you a lie. I watch you because I love you enough not to leave you alone in places where pain has made you vulnerable. I watch you because there have been moments when you were one thought away from giving in, one emotion away from calling the wrong person, one lonely evening away from returning to something I already tried to pull you out of. You may not realize how many times the pause you felt was me, how many times the sudden uneasiness was me, how many times you almost moved forward and something inside you tightened, slowed, or hesitated because I was standing there, not to humiliate you, but to protect what is still tender in you. I have seen the part of you that still wants peace, even when your behavior has not fully matched that desire. I have seen the part of you that still longs for purity, even when you feel tired of fighting. I have seen the way your heart softens when truth reaches you, even if only for a moment before life crowds in again. That softness matters to me. That hidden longing matters to me. I know what the world sees, but I also know what remains alive underneath the layers you build just to cope. So when I say I might be watching you, I am inviting you to stop living like you are alone in the dark. You are not. I am closer than the silence that unnerves you. I am nearer than the regret that follows your worst decisions. I am present in the very places where you assumed I would never come. If you feel exposed by that, stay with me. Do not run from it. Let that truth breathe. Because the places where you feel most seen by me may become the very places where you are finally healed. I also need you to understand that my watching is not passive. I am not simply observing your life as though I am waiting to see what kind of story you decide to write without me. I have been involved in ways you do not fully grasp yet. There are things that never happened because I stood in front of them. There are doors that never opened because I saw what was behind them. There are conversations that died before they could become attachments, habits that broke before they could become chains, impulses that lost momentum because I interrupted what would have wounded you more deeply than you imagined. You have called some of those moments frustration. You have called them confusion. You have called them bad timing. But some of what you mourned was actually mercy, and some of what irritated you was protection. I have watched you long enough to know the difference between what you want in the moment and what would quietly drain your soul over time. That is why I have not allowed every desire to mature into opportunity. That is why some things fell apart right when you thought they were beginning. That is why certain people became distant after you had already started imagining a future around them. You saw loss. I saw danger. You felt disappointment. I felt the weight of what would have happened if I had stepped back. I know how easy it is for you to believe that if I am watching, then perhaps I am mostly paying attention to your mistakes. But I see much more than that. I see the way you still try, even when you are exhausted. I see the small restraint no one applauds. I see the text you deleted before sending. I see the tears you held back because you were too tired to explain yourself again. I see the nights you did not know how to pray, yet something in you still whispered my name in the middle of the confusion. I see the exhaustion in your mind, and the fight in your spirit existing at the same time. I see the tenderness in you that pain has not managed to kill. I see the weariness, yes, but I also see the evidence that you have not gone numb all the way. That matters. It matters more than you know. Because as long as you still feel the ache when you drift, as long as you still sense the discomfort when you move too far from peace, as long as you still know the difference between temporary relief and real rest, then I am still actively working in you. I am still drawing you. I am still keeping certain things alive that the enemy hoped would die in your silence. So I am asking you now, very personally, very directly, do not treat this as a warning meant to make you afraid to breathe. Treat it as an invitation to become honest with me again. Stop assuming you have to clean up before you come close. Stop acting as though I only want the polished version of your heart. I already see what is underneath, and I am still here speaking gently instead of walking away. That should tell you everything about how I feel toward you. Look around, my child. Not because I want you nervous. Look around because I want you aware. I want you to notice the mercy that kept meeting you in places where you should have fallen harder. I want you to notice the interruptions that saved you. I want you to notice the moments when you felt something pull you back from the edge and realize that I was not absent. I was there. I have been there. And if you let this truth settle in the right way, you will stop looking over your shoulder in fear and start turning toward me in trust. That is where this begins. Not with panic, not with shame, with recognition. I have been watching you because I love you, because I know what is trying to reach you, because I know what still lives inside you, and because I refuse to let you drift without hearing my voice come close enough to remind you that you were never abandoned for even 1 second. My child, now that you have begun to understand that I have been watching you with love and not with condemnation, I want to take you deeper into something that may feel even more personal. There is a version of you that the world interacts with every day, and then there is the version of you that only emerges when the room is quiet, when the lights are low, when no one is asking questions, and when you no longer have the energy to keep everything arranged in a way that looks manageable. I know that hidden version of you more intimately than anyone ever could. I know what your voice sounds like when you are trying to stay strong in front of others, and I know the silence that follows when you are finally alone, and all the feelings you pushed aside begin to return. I know the expression on your face when you tell people you are tired, but what you really mean is that something inside you feels stretched thin in ways you do not know how to explain. I know how often you have had to make yourself emotionally smaller just to get through the day without breaking in front of someone who would not know what to do with your pain. I have watched you become careful. I have watched you become selective. I have watched you hold back parts of yourself because you learned that not everyone knows how to handle what is fragile. But you need to hear me clearly now, because this matters more than you realize. There is no version of you that makes me uncomfortable. There is no part of your inner life that causes me to pull back. I am not intimidated by the contradictions in you. I am not confused by your mixed emotions. I am not offended by the fact that you love me and still struggle, that you want peace and still reach for the wrong things when the ache gets too loud, that you know what is right and still sometimes feel too tired to choose it quickly. I understand what pain does when it sits in a person too long. I understand what disappointment can do to trust, what loneliness can do to judgment, what shame can do to the way you speak to yourself, and what repeated hurt can do to the way you protect your heart even when it begins to harden in the process. I have seen how you adapted. I have seen how some of your habits were not born from rebellion, as much as they were born from trying to survive emotions you did not know how to carry. I have seen the way you reach for distraction when the truth feels too close. I have seen the way you stay busy so you do not have to feel. I have seen the moments when you wanted comfort but settled for numbness because it was easier to access. And still, even in that, I have never looked at you with disgust. I have looked at you with compassion. That is why I am speaking this directly into your heart now. You keep assuming that if I truly saw the whole of you, I would become disappointed and distant. But I do see the whole of you. I see the things you are proud of, and the things you wish no one ever knew. I see the strength that gets you through difficult days, and I see the fatigue that follows it. I see the tenderness you still carry, and I see the defenses you built around it. I see the places where you are sincere, and I see the places where you perform because you are afraid of being misunderstood. I see the ache underneath the attitude, the fear underneath the control, the sadness underneath the irritation, and the longing underneath the choices that keep leaving you empty. That is why I keep drawing near. I do not come close because you have it all together. I come close because you are deeply loved in the places where you feel least lovable. I am nearer to your hidden self than your own thoughts are. Before you even understand what you are feeling, I already know the root of it. Before you even name the wound, I already know where it started. Before you even ask for help, I already know what part of you is quietly asking to be held. So stop assuming that your private world is a place where I visit reluctantly. It is a place where I have been waiting for you to let me speak more honestly than ever before. And because I know the hidden version of you so well, I also know the exact moments when you begin to drift from peace, often before you realize it yourself. This is why my watching is so precise. I do not only see the outward choices, I see the inner shifts that happen long before a visible decision appears. I see when your spirit becomes more tired than your body. I see when your thoughts start leaning in the wrong direction, not because you want destruction, but because you are craving relief. I see when disappointment makes old patterns feel familiar again. I see when a conversation leaves you emotionally raw, and you start reaching for anything that will quiet what it stirred. I see when you tell yourself, "It's not that serious," even though somewhere inside you know the line is closer than you want to admit. I see the way you negotiate with your own conscience. I see the way you postpone obedience by calling it exhaustion. I see the way you revisit certain memories because part of you still wants closure from places that can no longer give it. And because I see all of that, I intervene in ways you sometimes misunderstand. Sometimes I make things feel uncomfortable on purpose. Sometimes I let your peace leave before your mistake fully forms. Sometimes I let a sentence from someone else stay in your mind longer than usual because I am trying to interrupt a path before it becomes a pattern again. Sometimes I let you feel restless because I love you too much to let you feel calm while you are drifting into what will wound you later. You have often interpreted that inner discomfort as pressure or confusion, but many times it was simply my mercy refusing to let you become settled in something that would slowly empty you. I know you have had moments where you wondered why you could not enjoy certain things the way you used to. Why some habits suddenly started feeling heavier. Why certain choices left you emptier than before. Why some conversations felt off even when nothing obvious was wrong. My child, that is not always because life changed. Sometimes it is because you changed. Sometimes it is because I have been drawing you closer, and things that once blended and now begin to grate against the peace I am rebuilding in you. The discomfort is not rejection. It is evidence that your spirit is still alive to me. It means I have not let your heart go numb. It means I am still keeping the inner parts of you responsive. That is a gift, even when it feels inconvenient. And I want you to notice something else before we move on. Even in your most private battles, there has been a part of you that still wants what is true. There has been a part of you that still recognizes when you are moving too far from rest. There has been a part of you that still feels the ache after compromise instead of celebrating it. Do not overlook that. That ache is not proof that you are failing beyond repair. It is proof that you still belong close to me. If you were lost beyond feeling, you would not care. If your heart had fully surrendered to darkness, conviction would no longer trouble you. But you still feel the tension because I am still there, still active, still drawing, still speaking, still refusing to let your private life become a place where the enemy builds permanent residence. So I want you to do something with this truth. Stop treating your hidden struggles like proof that you are too far gone. Start seeing them as the place where I want to meet you most honestly. Stop thinking your private self is the version I tolerate least. It is often the version I hold closest because it is the one most in need of tenderness, truth, and restoration. You do not have to wait until you feel spiritually strong to bring me what is real. Bring me the tiredness. Bring me the confusion. Bring me the appetite that hath been misdirected. Bring me the loneliness you have been medicating with distractions. Bring me the parts of you that feel embarrassed to be seen. I already see them, and I am still here, still watching, still covering, still refusing to let you believe that the most hidden version of you is the least worthy of my love. It is not. It is the very place where my voice intends to become unmistakably personal. My child, now I want to speak to the part of you that has become almost invisible even to yourself, because you have gotten so used to carrying what hurts in silence that it has started to feel normal. You have learned how to move through your days while hiding the weight in your chest. You have become skilled at giving simple answers when your soul is anything but simple. You say you are tired when what you really mean is that your heart has been carrying things it was never meant to carry alone. You say you are busy when what you really mean is that you are afraid of what might surface if you slow down long enough to feel. You smile when you need space. You keep going when you need rest. You make yourself available to everyone while quietly becoming unavailable to your own soul. And I need you to stop for a moment and hear me carefully, because I am not merely noticing your behavior on the surface. I am seeing the cracks underneath it. I have watched you answer messages while fighting back tears. I have watched you sit in rooms where laughter filled the air while your mind was miles away, still replaying something painful that happened earlier or years ago. I have watched you wake up already weary because the battle did not end when you closed your eyes the night before. I have seen the way you carry tension in your body as if your muscles have been taught to brace for the next disappointment before it even arrives. I know what it feels like when you are around people and still feel strangely detached. I know what it is like when you tell yourself you will deal with the deeper things later, but later keeps moving further away because survival keeps demanding your attention. I am speaking to you now because I do not want you to keep mistaking emotional survival for true peace. I do not want you to keep calling your numbness strength just because it helped you get through difficult seasons. I do not want you to keep confusing control with healing. Look at me, my child, and be honest for once without rushing to protect your image. Come closer. Sit still with me. Let me tell you what I have seen. I have seen how much of your life has been shaped by what you never fully recovered from. I have seen how certain betrayals changed the way you trust. I have seen how disappointment taught you to expect less so you would not hurt as much. I have seen how rejection made you edit yourself, how abandonment made you cling too tightly in some places and shut down completely in others. I have seen how pain has been speaking into your choices long after the original wound should have healed. And I need you to stop pretending that because you are functioning, you are whole. Functioning is not the same as freedom. Enduring is not the same as resting. Moving is not the same as healing. Let those words land where they need to land. Let them stay with you. Let them challenge the story you have been telling yourself. Because I have been watching, and what I see is not just a person who has kept going. I see a person who has kept going while bleeding in places no one else knows about. I see someone who has become so accustomed to carrying invisible pain that you forgot how much it is shaping the way you live. And because I love you, I will not flatter your survival if it is costing you your soul. I will not call you healed when you are simply hardened. I will not praise the version of you that can handle everything if that version has become disconnected from tenderness, trust, and truth. So I am asking you right now, not later, not when life slows down, not when everything becomes easier. Pause. Breathe. Tell me the truth. Tell me where you are tired. Tell me where you are still angry. Tell me what you keep replaying. Tell me what you keep avoiding. Tell me what you keep reaching for when the ache rises. Stop editing your inner life when you come to me. I already know, but I want you to know that I know. I want you to feel the relief of being fully seen and still fully loved. That is where real healing begins, and that is why I have been watching the places where you pretend you are fine. And because I have seen the places where you pretend you are fine, I have also seen the hidden cost of that pretending. I know how much energy it takes for you to maintain a version of yourself that feels stable enough for the world to interact with. I know how exhausting it is to appear calm when your mind is noisy. I know how draining it is to keep your words measured when your emotions feel tangled and heavy. You have spent so much time managing what others can see that you have had very little strength left to face what is actually happening inside you. That is why some of your private moments feel so strange. That is why when the room gets quiet, your thoughts become louder than you expected. That is why distractions feel almost necessary sometimes. That is why you keep moving from one task to the next, one screen to the next, one conversation to the next, because you have learned that stillness often brings you face to face with the parts of yourself you have not known how to carry. But listen to me, my beloved child, because this matters deeply. Stillness is not your enemy. Silence is not trying to destroy you. The deeper parts of your heart are not dangerous simply because they are painful. What has been dangerous is how long you have kept trying to outrun what needed to be brought into the light. That is why I have been interrupting you. That is why certain moments have felt uncomfortable. That is why I have let some of your old distractions lose their power. That is why some of the things that used to help you escape no longer satisfy you the same way. I have been touching the places where false comfort has settled. I have been making the counterfeit feel hollow so you will finally stop mistaking it for peace. You may have wondered why certain habits now leave you feeling heavier than before. You may have wondered why some conversations that once felt exciting now feel draining. You may have wondered why the same old coping patterns do not numb you the way they used to. My child, that is not because you are getting worse. In many ways, it is because I am getting closer. When I begin to reclaim deeper territory in your life, things that once blended into the background begin to stand out. What once felt normal begins to feel off. What once felt harmless begins to feel costly. That is not punishment. That is discernment returning. That is your spirit becoming sensitive again. That is the evidence that I have not left you to drift. So stop calling the discomfort confusion. Stop labeling every inner ache as failure. Some of what you feel is actually the sound of your soul waking up. Some of what you feel is the friction between who you have learned to be in survival mode and who I am calling you to become in truth. That is why I want more than your attention right now. I want your surrender. Open your hands. Lay down the image management. Lay down the polished language. Lay down the need to appear unaffected. Come into my presence without the version of you that has learned how to look composed. Let me meet the tired version. Let me meet the irritated version. Let me meet the disappointed version. Let me meet the version of you that keeps saying, "I'm okay," while quietly wondering how much longer you can carry all of this without breaking. I am not asking you to oppress me. I am inviting you to tell me the truth. That invitation is not small. It is sacred. It is the doorway to a different kind of life, a life where you no longer have to spend all your strength hiding your pain from the one who is most able to heal it. So hear my voice clearly now and do not brush this aside as another emotional moment that will pass. I am giving you a command wrapped in love because I know how easily you slip back into avoidance when truth starts getting close. Stop pretending. Stop performing. Stop protecting your wounds more fiercely than you protect your peace. Stop returning to the same places that drain you and then calling the emptiness normal. Stop telling yourself that you will deal with your soul after you finish taking care of everyone else. Your heart is not an afterthought to me, and it should not be an afterthought to you. Come back. Come in. Sit down with me. Let the noise settle. Let your shoulders drop. Let the tears come if they need to come. Let the anger surface if it is still there. Let the grief speak instead of turning it into irritation. Let the loneliness be named instead of medicated. Let the shame be brought out where it can no longer rule in the dark. You do not need to solve everything in this moment, but you do need to stop hiding from what has been shaping your life from underneath. This is where I want you to look around in a new way. Not with suspicion. Not with fear. Look around and notice how many times I have already tried to reach the places you kept covered. Look around and remember the moments when a conversation unexpectedly touched a wound you thought was buried. Look around and remember the times you felt a sudden heaviness after making a choice you knew was not good for you. Look around and notice how often I have let discomfort linger just long enough for you to realize something inside you needed attention. I have been speaking. I have been stirring. I have been inviting. I have been watching the hidden version of you, not to embarrass you, but to rescue you from becoming a stranger to your own heart. You are not too complicated for me. You are not too damaged for me. You are not too layered for me. I know where the original wound began. I know which memories still pull at your peace. I know which names still carry emotional charge. I know which moments taught you the wrong lessons about love, trust, safety, and worth. And because I know all of that, I also know exactly where healing must begin. So do not rush away from this. Stay here. Stay under my gaze. Stay in the place where you are seen without being rejected. That is not weakness. That is wisdom. That is courage. That is where the false self begins to loosen its grip and the real healing you have been postponing can finally begin to breathe. Let this be the moment you stop admiring your ability to endure and start desiring the deeper wholeness I have been trying to lead you into all along. My child, there are some memories in your life that still carry the weight of disappointment because you have not yet seen them from where I stand. You remember what almost happened. You remember what you hoped would work. You remember the plans you built in your mind before they fell apart in your hands. You remember the people you trusted, the opportunities you leaned toward, the relationships you imagined would become safe places, and the moments you thought were finally leading you into relief only to watch them close, collapse, or quietly disappear. I know how you interpreted those moments. I know how often you told yourself that maybe you were overlooked, maybe you were not enough, maybe you missed your chance, maybe you had done something wrong, maybe I was withholding good from you for reasons you could not understand. I know how often you revisited those closed doors in your thoughts, trying to make sense of what happened, trying to decide whether to blame yourself, someone else, or even me. But I want you to hear me with tenderness and clarity, because this truth will change the way you understand parts of your story that still ache. Some of those doors did not close because you were forgotten. Some of those doors did not close because you were unworthy. Some of those doors did not close because I was distant or silent or indifferent to what you desire. Some of those doors closed because I was there before you arrived. Some of those doors closed because I knew what was behind them long after the excitement faded. Some of those doors closed because I loved you enough to be misunderstood for a season if that misunderstanding would save you from a deeper wound later. You have often judged those moments by how they felt in the moment, and I understand why. Rejection stings. Delay frustrates. Silence unsettles. Loss can make the heart invent painful stories. But I do not see your life in moments alone. I see trajectories. I see what would have happened if that person stayed longer. I see how that opportunity would have fed a part of you that was not yet healed enough to carry it. I see how that relationship would have awakened patterns you thought you were free from. I see the conversations that would have become attachments, the attachments that would have become dependencies, the dependencies that would have slowly stolen your peace while convincing you that you were building a future. I see the slow damage that often looks like excitement in the beginning. I see the kind of loss that does not arrive loudly but drains you quietly over time. That is why I stood in front of certain things even when you begged for them. That is why I allowed some people to pull away even when you would have chosen to hold on. That is why some plans failed right when they seemed to be gaining momentum. My child, I need you to stop calling every closed door a tragedy. Some of what broke your heart was actually protecting it. Some of what disappointed you was preserving you. Some of what left you confused was my hand refusing to let you walk into a room where your soul would have paid a price you were not yet able to see. I know you wanted clarity back then. I know you wanted immediate answers. I know you wanted the kind of explanation that would make the pain easier to accept. But sometimes I will protect you in ways that only make sense later. Sometimes mercy wears the face of interruption. Sometimes love feels like loss before it reveals itself as rescue. And if you can let this truth enter your heart, you will stop grieving certain endings as if they were evidence that I abandoned you. In many cases, they were evidence that I was closer than ever. I also want you to understand that when I closed certain doors, I was not merely taking something from you. I was preserving something in you. That difference matters. You often focus on what was removed, but I want you to start paying attention to what remained untouched because I intervene. I preserved your peace in situations that would have slowly eroded it. I preserved your clarity in relationships that would have confused your sense of worth. I preserved your tenderness in environments that would have trained you to harden in all the wrong ways. I preserved your calling in seasons when you were about to settle for something far beneath what I prepared for you simply because you were tired of waiting. I preserve your future from the consequences of attachments that look comforting but would have become costly. You have underestimated how much of your life has been shaped not only by what I allowed but by what I refused to allow. There are things you never fully stepped into because I would not let the door remain open long enough for the bond to deepen. There are patterns that did not become permanent because I disrupted the cycle before it could root itself further. There are outcomes you feared later that never came because I ended something earlier than you wanted. And yes, in the moment it hurt. Yes, in the moment it felt unfair. Yes, in the moment you may have even questioned whether I heard your prayers at all. But I heard every prayer, including the ones you did not realize you were praying. When you asked me to protect you, I listened. When you asked me to lead you, I took that seriously. When you asked me not to let you miss what was truly meant for you, I began closing what only looked right on the surface. That is why I need you to revisit your history with new eyes. Do not just remember what did not work. Ask what it saved you from. Do not just remember who left. Ask what would have happened if they had stayed. Do not just remember the opportunity that slipped away. Ask whether it would have nourished your spirit or quietly consumed it. Let me teach you how to reinterpret your pain through the lens of protection. This is not denial. This is not pretending it did not hurt. This is mature vision. This is the kind of understanding that turns bitterness into gratitude and confusion into trust. It does not erase the ache, but it redeems it. It lets you stop standing outside old doors wondering whether you should still be knocking. It lets you stop romanticizing things that were never safe simply because they once felt significant. It lets you release what your heart has been secretly revisiting. And I want to be very direct with you here because you need the firmness as much as the comfort. Stop trying to reopen what I already shut. Stop revisiting conversations I delivered you from. Stop imagining alternate futures with people I moved out of your path. Stop standing emotionally in front of doors I locked for your sake. You are wasting precious peace trying to decode whether something that hurt you was still meant for you. If I closed it, trust that I saw what you did not. If I removed it, trust that I knew what it would cost. If I ended it, trust that your story did not end with it. Let go. Release it. Surrender the need to understand every detail before you obey. Some forms of freedom begin when you stop asking for one more sign and simply accept that my refusal was already an answer. So now I want you to receive this as both comfort and command. Stop mourning every closed door as if it was your last chance at joy. Stop treating every interruption like a sentence over your future. Stop assuming that because something ended, your life became smaller. I have not been shrinking your life, my child. I have been refining it. I have been removing what would have distracted you, depleted you, distorted you, or delayed you in ways you do not yet fully understand. Look around now and notice how many times what once felt devastating later revealed itself as necessary. Look around and see how often your worst assumptions about a closed door were proven wrong by what I kept you from. Look around and remember the relationships you once thought you could not live without, the opportunities you thought defined your worth, the paths you were convinced would complete you, and then notice how different your understanding became with time. Some things that once looked golden now look dangerous in hindsight. Some people who once felt irresistible now look deeply incompatible with your peace. Some plans that once felt urgent now feel strangely small compared to what I am shaping in you. That shift in perspective is not accidental. That is growth. That is my wisdom slowly replacing your old urgency. That is the evidence that I have been teaching you how to see with deeper eyes. So I am inviting you now to stop standing in the hallway of your past. Come away from those old doors. Step forward. Let your hands unclench. Let the grief settle into trust. Let the question soften into surrender. Let the need to know every hidden reason be replaced by the confidence that I was there. I am here, and I will not mishandle your future. Some doors were closed because they were empty rooms. Some doors were closed because danger was grasped as desire. Some doors were closed because your peace was more precious to me than your temporary excitement. And some doors were closed because I had something better, not merely easier, not merely prettier, but truer, safer, deeper, and more aligned with the version of you I am still restoring. Trust my hand in the closing. Trust my love in the interruption. Trust my mercy in the no. When I watch over you, I do not only comfort you in what hurts. I also stand between you and what would quietly destroy what I am building in you. That is not rejection. That is a father's protection. That is mercy with a firm hand. That is love that sees farther than you do. And if you let the truth settle, you will stop grieving what was removed and start thanking me for what was preserved. My child, there are moments in your life that never became full stories, but they came close enough to leave a shadow on your heart. You remember some of them more clearly than you admit. You remember the late-night urge to return to what once held you. You remember the temptation to send the message, reopen the conversation, revisit the place, revive the attachment, or surrender to the habit that once gave you a few minutes of relief and then left you emptier than before. You remember the way it felt when the ache rose suddenly, sharp and persuasive, and your mind began building arguments to justify why this one time might be different. I saw those moments more clearly than you did. I saw the trembling underneath your logic. I saw how loneliness was trying to disguise itself as desire. I saw how disappointment was trying to dress itself up as nostalgia. I saw how exhaustion was trying to convince you that compromise would feel like comfort. And because I saw all of that, I did not simply observe you from a distance. I moved. I interrupted. I stood in the doorway between you and what would have wounded you again. That is why some moments felt strangely heavy before you acted. That is why your peace began slipping before your hand even reached all the way toward what was familiar. That is why certain names felt different in your spirit even when your emotions still felt attached. That is why what once looked inviting suddenly started carrying a warning inside it. You called it tension. You called it confusion. You called it being in your head. But often it was me, right there, close enough to disturb your comfort before your compromise became complete. I know you have asked yourself why you sometimes feel such a strong pull toward what hurt you. I know you have wondered why certain patterns still whisper to you long after you thought you had outgrown them. My child, pain often remembers what once numbed it, even when that numbness came with chains attached. That is why I do not judge you only by the temptation itself. I look deeper. I see what the temptation is feeding on. I see whether it is loneliness, fatigue, shame, disappointment, anger, fear, or the desire to feel chosen again. I know when you are not actually reaching for the thing itself. Sometimes you are reaching for relief. Sometimes you are reaching for familiarity because uncertainty feels too exposed. Sometimes you are reaching for a counterfeit comfort because real healing has felt slower than you expected. That is why I am speaking to you now with both tenderness and firmness. Stop romanticizing what nearly ruined your peace. Stop calling old chains comfort just because they are familiar. Stop revisiting what I already delivered you from as if the passage of time made it safe. The enemy is subtle. He rarely returns to you wearing obvious darkness. He often comes back wearing memory, softness, longing, unfinished emotion, or a voice that sounds almost harmless. He does not always tempt you with what looks ugly. Sometimes he offers you what looks familiar enough to lower your guard. That is why my watching over you must be precise. That is why my nearness sometimes feels inconvenient. That is why I make you restless when you begin leaning toward what once held you captive. And I need you to stop resenting that interruption. My interruption is mercy. My restraint is rescue. My refusal to let you feel comfortable in old places is not me ruining your moment. It is me protecting your future. Look around at your life with honest eyes. How many times did you come close to reopening a door that should have stayed shut? How many times did you nearly hand your heart back to someone who never knew how to carry it? How many times did you almost make peace with a habit that only ever left you spiritually hollow? How many times did you feel a strange pause, a knot in your chest, a check in your spirit, and only later realize that if you had moved forward, the aftermath would have been far heavier than the urge itself? That was not random. That was me. I was watching. I was near. I was not only seeing what you almost did, I was also protecting the part of you that still wanted freedom more than it wanted relief. That part matters to me, and I will fight for it even when you are too tired to recognize the battle. And because I know how human your heart can feel in these moments, I want to speak directly to the emotional pull itself, not just the outward choice. You do not always go back because you love what hurt you. Sometimes you go back because part of you is still trying to rewrite the ending. You imagine that if this time goes differently, maybe the old wound will finally stop aching. You think if the person responds differently, if the habit feels smaller, if the moment feels more controlled, maybe you can prove to yourself that you are no longer vulnerable there. But hear me carefully, because this is where many of your private battles have become more costly than they needed to be. Not every old place deserves a second look. Not every unresolved feeling deserves a reopened door. Not every ache needs to be answered by action. Sometimes the holiest thing you can do is let the urge pass without obeying it. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is sit in the discomfort long enough to realize it will not kill you, and that it does not have to become your master. I have watched you in those fragile moments when you were trying to decide whether to feed the pull or starve it. I have seen you hover in indecision, half wanting relief and half wanting peace. I have seen you tell yourself, "I just need closure," when what you really needed was distance. I have seen you say, "It's only one time," when deep down you already knew one time would reopen a deeper battle. I have seen you call it harmless when your spirit was already uneasy. That is why I want you to let my voice become stronger than the internal argument. When you feel that old pull, stop. Breathe. Step back. Put the phone down. Leave the room. Turn off the screen. Walk away from the place. Speak my name out loud if you must. Interrupt the momentum. Do not let the emotion become a decision before truth has a chance to speak. This is not weakness. This is wisdom. This is war in the unseen, and I am teaching you how to win it in real time. You keep thinking victory must look dramatic, but many times victory looks simple. It looks like not sending the message. It looks like deleting the draft. It looks like leaving early. It looks like refusing to revisit the page. It looks like not answering the invitation. It looks like closing the app. It looks like sitting with the discomfort instead of feeding it. It looks like letting the ache rise and fall without making it your guide. Those moments may feel small to you, but heaven sees them clearly. I see them clearly. They are not small to me. They are the hidden hinges on which deeper freedom swings. They are the silent decisions that shake your soul more than public moments ever will. So do not despise those private battles. Do not think I only notice the large failures or the obvious victories. I notice the split second when your hand pauses. I notice the breath you take before you choose. I notice the inner fight when your body wants one thing and your spirit wants another. I notice when you say no while still feeling the pull. It matters. It matters more than you know. And when you fail, I notice that too, but I do not notice it the way you think I do. I do not stare at your fall with disgust. I look at the deeper need beneath it, and then I call you back quickly because I do not want one moment of compromise to become a whole season of surrender. That is why I am speaking urgently now. Do not normalize the return to what hurts you. Do not let familiarity become permission. Do not let your pain become persuasive enough to talk you out of your own peace. I have seen what waits on the other side of those old doors. Some of them still look soft from a distance, but they are sharp when you get close. Some of them still carry a false glow, but their center is hollow. Some of them still whisper your name, but they do not love your soul. Let that truth sober you. Let it steady you. Let it sharpen your discernment before the next moment of weakness arrives. So I am giving you something practical and personal now, because I do not want this to remain only emotional. Build boundaries as if your peace is precious because it is. Stop calling access kindness when access keeps reopening wounds. Stop calling nostalgia discernment when nostalgia keeps blinding you to patterns I already exposed. Stop assuming that because something still tugs at you, it still belongs in your life. Desire is not always direction. Familiarity is not always safety. Intensity is not always intimacy. And unfinished feelings are not always invitations to return. Write that on your heart. Keep it close. Let it stay with you the next time the old pull tries to come dressed as possibility. My child, I am not asking you to be fearless. I am asking you to be honest. I am not asking you never to feel temptation. I am asking you not to let temptation lead. Bring the feeling to me before you follow it anywhere else. Bring the loneliness to me. Bring the ache to me. Bring the restlessness to me. Bring the memory to me. Do not take it back to the place that first wounded you and then ask why the pain returned. Come to me first. Sit with me first. Let me name what is actually happening before you act on what feels urgent. And when I interrupt you, welcome it. When I make something feel off, listen. When I remove your peace, pay attention. When I make your spirit uneasy, do not argue with that uneasiness until you have at least considered that it may be my hand preserving you again. I am not trying to make your life smaller. I am trying to keep your heart from being recaptured by what I already helped you escape. I am not trying to deprive you of comfort. I am trying to lead you toward comfort that does not leave bruises afterward. I am not trying to shame your struggle. I am teaching you how to recognize what is truly at stake. Look around, my child. The moments you almost returned were not just private impulses. They were crossroads. They were battlefields. They were places where unseen things were pressing in, hoping you would trade long-term peace for short-term relief. But I was there too. I was near. I was watching. I was standing in the way when you did not yet realize how much was on the line. So the next time the old pull comes, remember this. You are not helpless. You are not alone. You are not abandoned to your impulses. You are watched over. You are warned. You are loved. Step back. Choose slowly. Let my voice be louder than the urge. And if you do fall, come back quickly. Do not stay there. Do not build a home in regret. Return. Respond. I will still be here, not to scold you from a distance, but to lift you, steady you, and remind you that your future is not meant to be held hostage by what once nearly had you. My child, there is something I need you to understand with greater seriousness, because if you do not see this clearly, you will keep blaming yourself for battles that are more strategic than you realize. The enemy rarely comes for you when you feel strong, centered, and deeply aware of my nearness. He watches for the cracks. He studies the moments after disappointment. He pays attention when you are emotionally drained, physically tired, mentally crowded, or spiritually distracted. He notices when you have spent the whole day giving and have nothing left by the evening. He notices when an old wound has been stirred by something small. He notices when a conversation leaves you feeling rejected, misunderstood, or unseen. He notices when you are lonely enough to start craving anything that feels like connection, even if it is counterfeit. And because he watches for those moments, I watch even more closely. I do not only stand near you when you are praying well, speaking boldly, or feeling spiritually alive. I watch you with particular tenderness when you are worn thin. I watch the late hours. I watch the lonely windows. I watch the moments after conflict. I watch the quiet aftermath of emotional disappointment when your mind begins looking for relief. I know the times when your defenses drop not because you wanted to rebel, but because you were simply tired. That matters. It does not excuse everything, but it explains much more than you think. You have sometimes judged yourself too harshly without understanding how vulnerable you were in that moment. You have looked at a bad choice and only asked, "Why did I do that?" When the better question might have been, "What state was my soul in before I did that?" Were you exhausted? Were you emotionally raw? Were you secretly resentful? Were you overstimulated? Were you starving for comfort? Were you disappointed in a way you never fully processed? Were you carrying grief that had nowhere to go? These things matter because the enemy knows how to work through weariness. He loves unguarded moments. He loves when you confuse depletion with desire. He loves when you think the answer is more indulgence instead of deeper rest. He loves when you make permanent spiritual concessions in temporary emotional storms. That is why I am speaking to you now with a father's caution and a father's care. Learn yourself. Learn your weak hours. Learn the moments when your inner walls are lower. Learn what happened to you after certain conversation, certain disappointments, certain stretches of overgiving, certain nights of too little sleep, certain seasons of carrying more than you admit. This is not self-obsession. This is spiritual wisdom. This is the kind of awareness that turns ambushes into avoided traps. I have been watching those patterns in you for a long time. I know the time of day when your mind gets more vulnerable. I know the emotional states that make you reach for what does not satisfy. I know the kind of loneliness that makes you want to feel seen quickly. I know the exact moments when your discernment gets foggy because your soul is simply tired. And because I know all of that, I am asking you now to stop treating your private battles as random. They are not random. There are rhythms to them. There are triggers to them. There are familiar setups to them. Once you begin to see that, you will stop being shocked by patterns and start preparing for them. That preparation is not fear. It is freedom. It is wisdom with its sleeves rolled up. It is the kind of practical obedience that protects your peace before the battle gets loud. And because I am watching those tired moments so closely, I want you to stop waiting until you are already in the middle of temptation before you start reaching for me. Too often you call for help only after the pressure has already become intense, after the thought has already matured, after the conversation has already begun, after the compromise already feels halfway formed. But I want to train you into something deeper and wiser. Invite me earlier. Notice the fatigue sooner. Do not ignore the warning signs in your own soul. If you are emotionally frayed, say so. If you are physically exhausted, honor that. If you are disappointed, name it before it becomes self-sabotage. If you are lonely, bring it to me before you hand it to the wrong person. If your mind is crowded, step away from the noise before you make a foolish choice in the name of relief. You keep thinking spiritual maturity is only about resisting obvious sin in dramatic moments, but much of it is simply learning how to care for your soul before it becomes easy prey. Rest. Pray honestly. Step back. Go quiet. Get out of the room. Refuse the conversation. Leave the atmosphere. Turn the device over. Walk outside. Breathe deeply. Tell me the truth in real time. These are not small things. They are sacred strategies. They are how you close access points before the enemy turns your fatigue into a foothold. I have watched you wait too long to respond because part of you still hopes the feeling will pass on its own, or because you underestimate how much danger can grow in a tired mind. I am not saying this to scare you. I am saying it because I want you free. When you are tired, do not trust every thought. When you are depleted, do not assume every craving is wise. When you are emotionally bruised, do not let immediate comfort become your compass. Slow down. Ask better questions. What am I really feeling? What happened before this? Why does this seem urgent right now? What part of me is vulnerable? Those questions can save you from hours, days, or even months of unnecessary spiritual damage. And I need you to hear one more thing clearly. The enemy wants you ashamed of your tiredness, because shame keeps you hiding, and hidden exhaustion becomes fertile ground for compromise. But I do not shame your tiredness. I want to meet you in it. I want you to come to me before it turns into something heavier. I want you to stop pretending you are stronger than you are in certain moments. That pretending has cost you. It has made you stay in rooms too long, entertain thoughts too long, revisit conversations too long, and expose your heart to things that were already weakening your peace. So hear me as plainly as I can say it. Respect your tiredness. Do not worship it. Do not surrender to it. But respect what it does to your discernment. If you know you are vulnerable, act like it. Put distance between yourself and what pulls at you. Do not prove strength by standing too close to the edge. Prove wisdom by stepping back before the slide begins. That is not cowardice. That is maturity. That is how people stay free in private. That is how hidden battles are won before anyone else ever knows there was a battle at all. So now I want to leave you with a fatherly instruction that you must carry forward, because this will protect more of your life than you currently realize. Stop calling yourself weak every time the battle comes when you are tired. Instead, learn how to prepare for those moments before they arrive. Build rhythms of refuge, not just reactions of regret. Create small acts of wisdom that keep you from becoming easy to reach in your most vulnerable hours. If nights are harder, guard your nights. If certain conversations drain you, limit your access. If certain kinds of loneliness make you impulsive, bring that loneliness to me before it grows teeth. If disappointment makes you reckless, do not isolate with it. If exhaustion makes old patterns feel attractive, then create interruption before the craving becomes a decision. This is not legalism. This is love becoming practical. This is discernment becoming daily. This is what it means to live like someone who knows they are watched over by a Father who sees farther than the moment. Look around and notice how many times the battle came when you were worn out. Look around and remember how often your hardest spiritual moments did not begin with rebellion, but with depletion. Look around and see the pattern. Once you see it, stop treating it casually. Take it seriously. And when you feel yourself thinning out inside, come to me sooner. Do not wait until you are already standing in the wrong doorway. Do not wait until your mind is already halfway gone. Come early. Come honestly. Come while you still have enough clarity to recognize that something in you needs shelter. I will not turn you away because you are tired. I will not be disappointed that you need rest. I will not demand polished words from a weary heart. I will meet you in that fragile place. I will steady you there. I will remind you what is true when your mind becomes noisy. I will help you distinguish between what you feel and what is wise. I will not always remove the battle instantly, but I will strengthen you in the moment if you stop pretending you do not need me until it is too late. My child, some of your most dangerous moments have not been when you were openly defiant. They have been when you were simply too tired to fight well. That is why I have been watching so carefully. That is why my interruptions have sometimes come in the smallest ways. That is why your peace sometimes leaves before your compromise fully forms. I know what is trying to catch you in your weak hours. I know how quietly the slide can begin. And because I know, I am teaching you now. Guard your gates, honor your limits, invite me sooner, and stop underestimating how holy simple wisdom can be. I am watching the moments when the enemy tries to catch you tired, and I am telling you now, you do not have to be an easy target anymore. Stay close. Stay aware. Stay honest. And when the late hour comes, when the disappointment hits, when the fatigue lowers your guard, remember this. You are not alone in that moment. I am there. I am near. I am watching, not to accuse you, but to cover you, warn you, and guide you back to peace before weariness becomes a wound you did not have to carry. My child, there are things inside you that have never been fully spoken, not because they are small, but because they feel too deep, too tangled, or too painful to bring into words. You have had moments when people asked how you were, and you gave them the answer that would end the conversation quickly because you did not have the strength to explain what was really happening inside you. You have had nights when your thoughts were so crowded that even prayer felt difficult, and all you could do was sit there with your breathing shallow, your chest tight, your eyes tired, and your mind circling the same fears, the same regrets, the same questions you were too exhausted to frame properly. I know those moments better than you think. I know the prayers you never finished. I know the tears you blinked away before they could fall. I know the times you wanted to cry but felt emotionally numb instead, and that numbness frightened you because it made you wonder if something inside you had shut down too far. I know the difference between your silence when you are peaceful and your silence when you are overwhelmed. I know when you go quiet because you are resting, and I know when you go quiet because you are carrying too much to even begin speaking. And I need you to hear me very clearly right now, because this is where so many of my children misunderstand me. You do not have to be eloquent for me to understand you. You do not need polished prayers for me to move near. You do not need the right language, the right rhythm, the right emotional expression, or the perfect spiritual words to gain my attention. You already have it. You have always had it. I hear the sigh before it leaves your chest. I hear the trembling in the pause between your thoughts. I hear the prayer hidden inside your fatigue. I hear the longing buried under your frustration. I hear the hurt beneath your anger. I hear the fear underneath the control. I hear the sadness inside the sentence, "I'm just tired." That is why when I say I might be watching you, I also want you to understand that I am listening to you in ways no one else can. I am not only observing what you do, I am listening beneath what you say and beneath what you cannot say. You have sometimes believed that because you did not know how to pray well, I must have been distant. You have assumed that because you felt numb, I must have pulled back. You have thought that because you had no words, perhaps heaven had gone quiet too. But that is not how this works, my child. Your inability to explain your pain does not reduce my ability to understand it. Your confusion does not confuse me. Your emotional exhaustion does not make me less present. If anything, those are often the moments when I come closer, because those are the moments when you stop trying to perform spirituality and simply exist before me in your truest condition. There is something sacred in that. There is something holy in a weary soul that no longer has the energy to pretend. I know that you sometimes feel ashamed of how little you have to offer in those moments. You think, I should be stronger than this. I should be able to say more than this. I should be able to pray better than this. But let me interrupt that inner critic right now. Stop measuring your sincerity by your fluency. Stop measuring your spiritual life by how polished your words sound. Stop assuming silence means failure. Sit here with me and let me tell you what I see. I see the fact that you still turn your heart in my direction, even when you do not know what to say. I see the way you still reach inwardly, even if your lips barely move. I see the ache that makes you look upward even when your thoughts are tangled. I see the moments when all you can do is whisper my name once, and I tell you the truth. Sometimes that single whisper carries more weight than long speeches spoken without honesty. Your silence is not empty to me. It is often full of hidden sorrow, full of exhausted hope, full of restrained tears, full of questions, full of longing, full of a need for comfort that you have not known how to ask for directly. And because I hear all of that, I do not need you to come to me already composed. I want you to come exactly as you are. Sit down. Stop forcing words. Stop trying to sound strong. Let the silence be honest. Let the tears come if they come. Let the stillness stay if that is all you have. Let me meet you there. I am not uncomfortable with your wordless places. I am present in them. I am active in them. I am listening more deeply than you realize. And because I hear what you never say out loud, I also hear the dangerous things you have been telling yourself in private. I hear the stories you build in your mind when disappointment lingers too long. I hear the quiet assumptions that start forming when prayers feel delayed. I hear the way your heart begins to whisper, maybe I was overlooked. Maybe I am too damaged. Maybe I miss my moment. Maybe this pain is just who I am now. Maybe I will always carry this. Maybe peace belongs to other people, not me. My child, I hear those thoughts before they harden. I hear them while they are still soft enough to challenge. I hear them while they are still forming. That is why my watching over you is often tied to my interruptions. That is why certain thoughts suddenly lose their grip when you pause. That is why sometimes a memory, a verse, a phrase, or even an unexpected moment of clarity cuts through your internal fog. I am not absent when your mind becomes noisy. I am working inside the noise, and I am trying to keep lies from becoming identity. You have underestimated how much of your life has been shaped by the things you quietly believe in your hidden moments. The words you do not say aloud still shape your posture, your decisions, your relationships, your boundaries, your willingness to trust, your capacity to receive love, and your ability to imagine a future. That is why I want you to start listening to yourself the way I already do. Pay attention to what you say in your lowest moments. Notice the language you use when you are discouraged. Catch the words you attach to yourself after failure. Be honest about the narratives you keep revisiting when no one else is around. If you keep telling yourself that you are always behind, you will start moving through life as if you are being chased by loss. If you keep telling yourself that you are too broken, you will start refusing the very healing you long for because you will feel unworthy of it. If you keep telling yourself that nothing ever changes, you will stop recognizing the subtle signs of my work because hopelessness will blind you to progress. This is why I need you to let me speak into those silent places with greater authority. Invite me into your internal conversations. Do not just bring me your public prayers. Bring me the raw thoughts that come at midnight. Bring me the fearful thoughts that arrive after rejection. Bring me the assumptions that surface after disappointment. Bring me the lies that feel almost true because you have repeated them for too long. Put them before me. Hold them up to the light. Ask me, Lord, is this really true? Then listen. Stay long enough to hear me answer. I am not asking you to become emotionally perfect overnight. I am asking you to stop letting your inner world become a place where lies move in without being challenged. My voice belongs there too. My truth belongs there too. My comfort belongs there too. And I want you to notice something beautiful. Even when your thoughts have become harsh, there has often been another voice inside you, quieter but steadier, nudging you not to give up. That was me. Even when you were spiraling, there was often a moment where something in you knew the lie was not the full truth. That was me. Even when you felt numb, there was still a small lake that wanted more than numbness. That was me. Even when your mind was loud, there was often a stillness beneath it that kept calling you back toward honesty, rest, and surrender. That was me too. So stop treating your mind as if it is a battlefield where you are abandoned. I am there in the battle. I am there in the fog. I am there in the tired thoughts. I am there when you cannot sort through the noise. Let me in earlier. Ask for help sooner. Interrupt the spiral before it becomes a stronghold. Speak my name in the middle of it. Open your mouth even if all you can manage is, Lord, help me sort this. That invitation matters. It gives me access to places you have been trying to manage alone. So I am inviting you now into something simple, but not small. Stop fearing your silence. Stop assuming that if you have no words, you have no prayer. Stop thinking your inner exhaustion disqualifies you from closeness. Instead, turn your silence into surrender. Turn your pause into presence. Turn your heaviness into an offering. Sit with me. Breathe slower. Put your hand over your chest if you need to, and let yourself notice what is really there. Is it grief? Is it anger? Is it fear? Is it loneliness? Is it shame? Is it disappointment? Is it just sheer fatigue? Name it. Do not dramatize it. Do not deny it. Name it. Then give it to me plainly. Lord, this is what is here. That kind of honesty opens more doors in the spirit than many realize. It is not flashy, but it is powerful. It is not loud, but it is real. And reality is where I meet you best. Look around, my child. Think about the moments when no one else knew what was happening inside you, yet somehow you were kept from collapsing all the way. Think about the times when your words failed, but peace still touched you for a moment. Think about the nights when you did not know how to pray, yet you woke up the next morning with just enough strength to continue. Think about the moments when your chest was tight, your mind was spinning, and then suddenly something softened just enough for you to breathe deeper. That was not imagination. That was not luck. That was me, hearing what you never said and answering what you did not know how to ask. I have been closer to your silence than you realize. I have been listening to your hidden life with fatherly attention. I have been hearing your internal cries, your buried fears, your restrained pain, and your secret hopes. So do not wait until you can explain yourself perfectly before you come close. Come now. Come quiet if you must. Come trembling if you must. Come with half-formed words, with heavy eyes, with scattered thoughts, with tears that feel delayed. Yes, come. Sit with me. Let me teach you that your silence is not a void. In my hands, it can become a meeting place. In my presence, it can become a place of healing. Under my gaze, it can become a doorway where what you never knew how to say is finally heard, told, and slowly made whole. My child, you have just heard how I listen even to the prayers you never finish, the sighs you never speak, and the silence you thought no one understood. And now I say this to you. If this word found you in your quiet place and strengthened your heart, do not let the river stop with you. When you give through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, you are sowing seeds of light into souls who are sitting in the same silent battles you once carried alone. I have said, those who sow in tears shall reap with psalms of joy, and today your generosity can become oil in another person's lamp when their faith is flickering. I am the one who multiplies the loaves and fishes, and what you place in my hands becomes bread for many hearts. When you feel the stirring to help this message travel further, that stirring is not random. It is my invitation to partner with me in this harvest of souls. Those who open their hand for my work will never find their lives empty, for I am the God who fills the storehouses of the faithful and surrounds them with favor. So if you hear my voice in this moment, do not ignore the nudge. Sow your seed now through super thanks, membership, or PayPal, and let this living word reach the hearts that are waiting tonight. My child, there have been so many moments when you felt something around you and did not fully know what to call it. You sensed a pause that felt heavier than coincidence. You felt a strange stillness in the middle of your chaos. You noticed a sudden check in your spirit right before making a decision. You felt a wave of peace in the middle of a day that should have swallowed you whole. You had those moments when the room felt different, when the air seemed somehow softer, when your thoughts slowed down just enough for your heart to catch up, and then you moved on because you did not know what to do with it. But I knew. I was there. I have been near you in ways so gentle that you could have mistaken me for an ordinary interruption, and sometimes you did. I have been close in the hesitation before the wrong choice. I have been close in the tears you could not explain. I have been close in the sudden tenderness that came over you when you thought you had already gone numb. I have been close in the moment your anger softened just enough to keep you from saying something you would regret. I have been close in the memory that surfaced at exactly the right time. I have been close in the random sentence from someone who had no idea they were carrying an answer to a question you had not spoken out loud. I have been close in the doors that refused to open and in the strange peace that followed after your initial disappointment. I have been close in the way your spirit became uneasy in places that once felt comfortable. I have been close in the way old habits started tasting bitter even before you fully let them go. My child, I need you to stop assuming that if I am near, it must always look dramatic. I do not always announce myself with thunder. Sometimes I come as a whisper. Sometimes I come as a check. Sometimes I come as a hush in the middle of your hurry. Sometimes I come as a discomfort that keeps you from settling in the wrong place. Sometimes I come as a warmth that reaches you before you understand why you suddenly feel less alone. I have been teaching you my nearness in subtle ways because I want your spirit to become sensitive, not just reactive. I want you to learn the difference between noise and knowing. I want you to recognize the fingerprints of my presence before you need a crisis to force your attention. That is why I have not always shouted. I have often whispered, And the truth is, there were times when you almost noticed. There were times when you felt the nudge and paused longer than usual. There were times when you knew, even if only for a second, that this was more than a mood, more than timing, more than coincidence, more than a passing thought. That was me. I have been waiting for you to trust that awareness instead of brushing it aside. I have been waiting for you to stop calling it nothing when it was actually my nearness. I have been waiting for you to stop dismissing the sacred because it arrived quietly. Sit with it for a moment. How many times have you asked me for a sign while overlooking the subtle ways I was already standing right beside you? How many times have you longed for a dramatic answer while I was giving you daily guidance in smaller, steadier ways? How many times have you prayed, Lord, where are you? While my hand was already on the very moment you were living through. I am not scolding you for that. I am inviting you into a deeper awareness now. Pay attention. Slow down. Notice. Let your spirit wake up. The signs of my nearness are not always spectacular, but they are real. They are often deeply personal, tailored to the exact places where your heart is most vulnerable, and they are more frequent than you realize. And because I have been so near, I want you to understand that some of the discomfort you have felt lately is not a sign that I am far from you. In many cases, it is the opposite. The closer I come, the harder it becomes for you to remain comfortable in what does not align with peace. The closer I come, the more obvious certain compromises begin to feel. The closer I come, the more your soul starts reacting to what once blended into the background. That is why some things that used to seem harmless now leave you unsettled. That is why some places that once felt familiar now feel draining. That is why some conversations leave you feeling off even when nothing visibly dramatic happened. That is why certain forms of entertainment, connection, escape, or emotional indulgence no longer fit the same way they once did. It is not always because life has become heavier. Sometimes it is because I have become more noticeable within you. Sometimes it is because your spirit is waking up. Sometimes it is because I am reclaiming territory in your inner life, and what once lived there comfortably is beginning to feel displaced. My nearness is not always soft in the way you expect. Sometimes my nearness exposes. Sometimes my nearness unsettles what have been settled too long in the wrong places. Sometimes my nearness brings your hidden attachments to the surface. Sometimes my nearness makes old escapes lose their shine. Sometimes my nearness puts pressure on the very things that have been quietly stealing from you. That pressure is mercy. Do not resist it. Do not rush to numb it. Do not immediately try to medicate it with distraction. Sit with it. Ask what it is showing you. Let it become revelation instead of irritation. I know you have had moments lately when you felt like something was shifting inside you, but you could not fully explain it. Part of you wants what you used to reach for, but another part of you feels tired of the emptiness that follows. Part of you wants to keep things familiar, but another part of you knows the familiar is no longer safe. Part of you wants relief, but another part of you is finally beginning to hunger for something deeper than relief. That internal tension can feel uncomfortable, but do not mistake it for confusion. Often it is the sound of transformation. Often it is what happens when my presence gets close enough to challenge the counterfeit comforts you have leaned on for too long. That is why I want more than your admiration of these moments. I want your response. When you feel that nudge, stop and ask me about it. When you feel the sudden peace, stay with it instead of rushing away. When you feel the discomfort, do not automatically label it anxiety or inconvenience. Ask whether it is discernment. When you feel the room change, when your heart softens, when your spirit checks you, when your peace slips in the middle of something that once seemed harmless, pay attention. Respond. Welcome me there. Invite me deeper. Do not let those moments pass by as if they are emotionally interesting, but spiritually irrelevant. They are not. They are personal. They are precise. They are part of how I have been teaching you that I am nearer than your next breath and more involved in your ordinary life than you ever realized. So I want to give you a direct invitation now, because I do not want this to remain a beautiful thought. I want it to become a practiced awareness. Begin looking for me in your day, not with fear, not with superstition, not with anxious searching, with childlike attentiveness. When your spirit pauses, ask why. When your peace rises, notice it. When your peace leaves, do not ignore it. When your heart softens unexpectedly, stay in that moment a little longer. When something feels off, do not argue yourself out of discernment just because the truth feels inconvenient. When you feel the urge to hurry, sometimes that is the very moment you need to slow down and notice me. Build this habit. Practice this posture. Let your soul become familiar with my fingerprints. Look around and notice where I have already been. Look around and revisit the moments you once called coincidence. Look around and remember the time something inside you knew not to move forward, even when everything on the surface looked fine. Look around and remember the peace that came after certain losses. Look around and notice how often your spirit has tried to tell you what your emotions could not yet understand. I have been there in all of it. I have been waiting, not impatiently, but intentionally, for you to realize that I am not merely present in the large spiritual moments. I am present in your ordinary hours. I am present in the decision before the decision. I am present in the pause before the text. I am present in the room before the conversation. I am present in the walk to your car, in the silence after the call, in the few seconds before you say yes to something your spirit is unsure about. I am there. I am not absent from your daily life. I am woven through it. So come closer to that reality now. Stop treating my nearness like a rare event. Start treating it like the truest atmosphere of your life. I have been near you in the ache, near you in the hesitation, near you in the restraint, near you in the rescue, near you in the quiet comforts that arrived without explanation. I have been near in ways so personal that if you begin paying attention, you will realize I have never been far, not once, not for a single breath. That is why I say to you now with gentleness and authority, wake up to my nearness. Notice me. Welcome me. Respond to me. Stop walking past the whisper because you were waiting for thunder. I am already here. I have been here. And the more you learn to recognize how close I really am, the less you will live as if you are abandoned in your private battles, and the more you will begin to move through your life with the quiet strength of someone who knows, deeply knows, that the Father who loves them is not watching from far away. He is standing right beside them. My child, I want you to stay with me here because what I am about to say may feel unsettling at first, but if you let it go deep enough, it will become one of the most healing truths you have ever received. You cannot hide from me. Not the polished parts, not the private parts, not the thoughts you rush past, not the feelings you bury under activity, not the habits you excuse, not the memories that still sting, not the shame that still follows you into quiet rooms. You cannot hide from me. But listen carefully before fear starts twisting that into something cold. This is not a threat hanging over your life. This is not me cornering you with accusation. This is not a warning meant to make you feel trapped. This is the beginning of your freedom. Because what stays hidden often stays wounded. What stays hidden often stays unhealed. What stays hidden becomes a quiet chamber where pain, shame, fear, and false stories learn how to echo until they sound like truth. And I love you too much to let your life keep being shaped by what is hidden in the dark. I know how you have learned to hide in sophisticated ways. You do not always hide by disappearing. Sometimes you hide by performing. Sometimes you hide by staying useful. Sometimes you hide by becoming the strong one, the dependable one, the one who helps everyone else so no one thinks to ask how you are really doing. Sometimes you hide by joking. Sometimes you hide by over-explaining. Sometimes you hide by staying busy enough that even you do not have to face what is actually happening underneath. I have watched all of it. I have seen the version of you that knows how to move through the day without letting anyone get close enough to see the trembling underneath the calm. I have seen the way you can carry pain with such practiced control that even people who love you may not realize how much is happening inside. But I know the exact place where your mind goes when you are alone. I know the memories that still make your stomach tighten. I know the names that still carry emotional charge. I know the private disappointments that still make you question your worth. I know the secret habits that have become more about soothing pain than chasing pleasure. I know the quiet self-talk that starts after a mistake. I know the ways you punish yourself internally long after the moment has passed. I know the fear that if you were fully seen, you would be too much, too messy, too complicated, too damaged. That fear has shaped more of your life than you realize. It has taught you to manage perception instead of seek healing. It has taught you to protect your image while your inner life grows tired. It has taught you to control access while longing to be deeply known. And this is where I want to interrupt that pattern with both tenderness and authority. Come out of hiding. Not dramatically. Not performatively. Not all at once in ways that overwhelm you. But honestly. Deliberately. Quietly. Bring what is real into my presence. Bring me the thing you keep circling around without naming. Bring me the thought you keep entertaining but do not want to admit has become a pattern. Bring me the bitterness you disguise as caution. Bring me the loneliness you keep dressing up as independence. Bring me the shame you keep calling just my personality. Bring me the grief you keep postponing because life kept moving and you felt guilty for still hurting. Bring it here. Bring it now. Stop waiting for the perfect spiritual moment to become honest. Honesty is the moment. Honesty is the doorway. Honesty is the place where hidden pain loses some of its power the second it enters the light. I do not need your polished version to begin healing you. I need your true one. And do not misunderstand me, my child. I already see what you are bringing. I already know. But there is something that changes inside you when you stop merely being known by me and start agreeing with what I see. That agreement breaks denial. That agreement weakens shame. That agreement dismantles the exhausting split between the image you maintain and the ache you carry. So do not flinch from this truth. You cannot hide from me, and that is good news. It means there is no locked room in your soul where I cannot enter. It means there is no hidden hallway in your heart where healing cannot reach. It means there is no private corner of your life where darkness gets the final word just because no one else knows what is there. Let that settle. Let it soften you. Let it call you out of the shadows you have been living in even while surrounded by people. I am not asking you to come into the light so I can expose you to shame. I am asking you to come into the light because I want to break shame's hold on you. And because I know how deeply shame has shaped the way you think, I need to say this plainly so you can stop carrying lies that have become too familiar. Shame has taught you to expect rejection the moment truth gets close. Shame has trained your nervous system to brace for distance when you feel exposed. Shame has made you assume that if I really saw everything, I would become colder, quieter, or disappointed. But I do see everything, and I am still here, still speaking, still inviting, still drawing you closer. That alone should begin to undo the lie. Shame says, hide, then maybe you can keep what little safety you have. I say, come closer, and I will show you what real safety feels like. Shame says, if this is known, you will lose love. I say, let it be known, and you will finally understand how deep my love actually is. Shame says, you should have been over this by now. I say, let me show you what has kept the wound alive so healing can finally become honest. Shame says this part of you is too ugly. I say, this is the very part I want to touch first. My child, pay attention to the difference. The voice that drives you into secrecy is not my voice. The voice that tells you to perform, conceal, and manage your way into worthiness is not mine. The voice that says you must become acceptable before you can come near is not speaking for me. My voice calls you closer while you are still unfinished. My voice invites you in while the wound is still visible. My voice moves toward you while you are still sorting through the mess. That is why I need you to stop making agreements with secrecy. Secrecy is not the same as privacy. Wisdom knows when to be discreet. Shame knows how to be hidden. I am not asking you to spill your soul recklessly to every person around you. I am asking you not to keep living in internal concealment from the one who is trying to restore you. There are things that have stayed powerful in your life simply because you kept meeting them in the dark. Some patterns have remained persuasive because they were never fully named. Some emotions have stayed oversized because they were never brought into truth. Some lies have kept shaping your choices because you kept treating them like background noise instead of confronting them as false. That is why I want you to become more deliberate now. Catch what you hide. Notice what you minimize. Pay attention to what you always call not a big deal even though it keeps affecting your peace. Watch what you repeatedly postpone bringing to me. If you keep saying, I'll deal with it later, ask yourself why later feels safer than now. If you keep reaching for distraction when certain feelings rise, ask yourself what those feelings are protecting. If you keep avoiding stillness, ask what stillness keeps trying to reveal. These are not cruel questions. These are compassionate ones. They are how you stop living at war with your own interior life. They are how you begin cooperating with healing instead of just longing for it in vague ways. And I want to tell you something else because this is where many people miss what I am doing. Exposure in my presence is not humiliation. Exposure in my presence is precision. I do not bring things to the surface just to make you uncomfortable. I bring them to the surface because I am specific. I know exactly where the root is. I know what memory attached itself to that behavior. I know what disappointment created that belief. I know what wound taught you that certain false comforts were necessary. I know where fear first entered. I know when trust broke. I know why you became so self-protective. I know why you learned to hide. That is why when I bring something into the light, I am not shaming you. I am targeting what had been hurting you for too long. Let me do that. Stop resisting the light just because your first reaction is discomfort. Stay. Listen. Breathe. Let me show you what is really there. Let me separate the wound from your identity. Let me separate the lie from your story. Let me separate the shame from the truth. This is not me taking something from you that you need. This is me removing what has been stealing from you quietly for years. So now, receive this as a father's invitation and a father's command. Stop hiding. Stop turning your face away the moment conviction touches you. Stop changing the subject internally when truth gets close. Stop rushing back into noise every time silence begins revealing something real. Sit down with me. Open your hands. Tell the truth, even if it shakes a little as it comes out. You do not need dramatic language. You do not need to make it poetic. You only need to be real. Say what it is. Name the habit. Name the fear. Name the resentment. Name the grief. Name the self-hatred. Name the longing. Name the lie. Name the thing you keep returning to in private. Put it before me. Let the light touch it. Then stay long enough to realize that you are still loved after it has been named. That matters. That is the moment many people rush past, and I do not want you to miss it. The real breakthrough is not just naming the hidden thing. The real breakthrough is discovering that my love does not withdraw when truth appears. That is how trust is rebuilt. That is how your inner life becomes safer. That is how you stop splitting yourself into acceptable parts and unacceptable parts. Look around, my child. Look at the evidence in your own life. Think of the times I already let discomfort rise in order to reveal something. Think of the moments when a private habit suddenly felt heavier than before. Think of the times a memory came back not to torment you but because healing was trying to reach it. Think of the moments when your peace left and would not return until you admitted what was actually happening. That was not cruelty. That was care. That was me refusing to let hidden things continue shaping your life from the shadows. I have been watching the places you hide, and I am telling you now with gentleness and strength, you do not have to live there anymore. Come into the light. Come without your mask. Come without your defense. Come without the polished version that knows how to sound okay. Let your soul be known where it can finally be healed. I am not waiting on the other side of honesty with punishment. I am waiting there with presence, precision, and peace. Let that be enough to move you. Let that be enough to make you brave. Let that be enough to make you stop hiding from the one who already sees you and still chooses, with full knowledge, to stay. My child, there is a lie I need to break inside you because it has distorted the way you hear my nearness. Somewhere along the way, part of you started believing that if I am watching closely, then I must be watching for the wrong move. You have felt my presence near a weak place and assumed I was there to catch you failing. You have felt conviction rise and interpreted it as proof that I was disappointed before you even made the full turn. You have sensed my gaze and imagined scrutiny instead of safety. That is not how I love you. That is not how I watch you. I am not standing over your life with folded arms waiting for your next mistake so I can confirm your worst fears about yourself. I am not collecting evidence against you. I am not hoping you slip so I can finally justify distance. I am not emotionally pacing around your life waiting for you to prove you are not worthy. My child, listen to me. I watch for your return. I watch for the small turn in your heart before anyone else would even notice it. I watch for the moment your resistance softens. I watch for the moment your hand hesitates before sending what should not be sent. I watch for the instant your eyes fill with tears because truth finally touched the place you had kept numb. I watch for the sigh that means you are tired of carrying what you were never meant to carry alone. I watch for the pause before the bad decision when your spirit starts remembering that peace matters more than relief. I watch for the instant you stop defending what is hurting you. I watch for the moment you finally say, Lord, I do not want this anymore, even if you say it while still shaking. Those moments matter to me more than you realize. Heaven notices them. I notice them. They are not small. They are the first signs of return. They are the hidden hinges of restoration. And I need you to understand this because it will change the way you respond when conviction comes. Conviction is not rejection. Conviction is my love refusing to let you become comfortable too far from peace. Conviction is not me pushing you away. It is me drawing you back before the distance grows deeper. Conviction is not me saying, look what you have done. It is me saying, Come back before this becomes heavier than it needs to be. I know you have felt shame in those moments. I know your first instinct is often to pull away, hide, distract yourself, delay prayer, postpone honesty, or tell yourself you will deal with it later. But that delay has cost you. That delay has given lies more room than they deserved. That delay has turned small moments of drift into longer seasons of inner distance. I do not want that for you anymore. So let me say this plainly and personally. When you feel me near your weakness, do not run. Yearn. When your peace starts leaving, do not panic. Cause. When your spirit becomes uneasy, do not argue your way around it. Listen. When conviction touches you, do not build a defense. Open the door. The enemy wants you to interpret my nearness as danger so that you keep hiding from the very presence that would restore you fastest. But I want you to retrain your heart. Learn to recognize conviction as invitation. Learn to recognize discomfort as mercy. Learn to recognize the loss of false peace as a holy interruption. My eyes on you are not the eyes of a judge hoping for collapse. They are the eyes of a father waiting for the sight is turned home. And because I am watching for your return, I need you to stop despising small steps toward me. You keep thinking that if you really meant it, it would feel bigger, cleaner, stronger, more dramatic, more complete. But many times, real return begins quietly. It begins with honesty before it becomes visible change. It begins with discomfort before it becomes discipline. It begins with confession before it becomes consistency. It begins with a single sincere sentence whispered in the middle of your mess. I have seen you underestimate these moments because they do not look impressive to you. You think, what does it matter that I paused? What does it matter that I felt mad? What does it matter that I deleted the message this time? What does it matter that I finally admitted this is hurting me? My child, it matters because it reveals direction. It matters because it shows me where your heart is leaning. It matters because even when your habits have not fully changed yet, your agreement with truth is beginning to change, and that is often where freedom first takes root. Do not despise that. Reject it. Feed it. Follow it. If you feel the urge to return to me, respond quickly. Do not wait for a better mood. Do not wait until you feel more spiritual. Do not wait until you can offer me a more polished prayer. Return while the softness is there. Return while the ache is still honest. Return while your heart is open enough to admit what is real. Sit down. Close the door. Turn off the noise. Speak plainly. Lord, I feel the pull. Lord, I am tired of this pattern. Lord, I do not trust myself right now. Lord, I want relief, but I know this is not peace. Lord, help me turn before I go further. Those prayers move me. They are real. They are relational. They are the kind of prayers that keep you close in the middle of the fight instead of after the damage is done. And let me tell you something else because you need to hear it deeply. I do not measure your return by perfection. I measure it by posture. Are you turning toward me or away from me? Are you becoming more honest or more hidden? Are you opening or hardening? Are you letting truth in or building arguments around your pain? These are the questions that matter. I know you still have process ahead. I know some patterns loosen slowly. I know some wounds must be revisited gently. I know some battles require repeated surrender. But do not confuse repeated surrender with failure. Sometimes repeated surrender is exactly what deep healing looks like while it is still forming. Sometimes freedom arrives one yielding at a time. Sometimes restoration is built in small turns, not one giant leap. That is why I want you to keep responding to the nudge. Keep answering the check in your spirit. Keep returning the moment you notice the drift. Keep refusing the lie that says you already messed up, so now it does not matter. That lie has stolen enough from you. It is a thief in subtle clothing. It tries to turn one stumble into a spiral. It tries to turn one weak moment into an identity. It tries to turn one act of compromise into a season of distance. Do not agree with it. If you stumble, return faster. If you fail, confess sooner. If you drift, stop sooner. If you feel numb, come anyway. I am not watching to punish your weakness. I am watching for the smallest turn that says you still want me in the middle of it. Give me that turn. Give me that pause. Give me that whispered yes. Give me that honest surrender. I will meet you there. So receive this now as something you can carry into every private battle from this point forward. The next time you feel conviction, do not interpret it as the beginning of rejection. Interpret it as the beginning of rescue. The next time your peace leaves, do not rush to numb the discomfort. Ask what I am protecting you from. The next time your spirit becomes uneasy, do not assume you are simply overthinking. Sit with me and let me show you what your soul already knows. The next time you feel ashamed after a bad choice, resist the urge to disappear. Come back quickly. Come while the shame is still trying to convince you to hide. Come before the enemy turns one mistake into a narrative about who you are. Come and let me separate the action from your identity. Come and let me remind you that the fact you feel the ache means your heart is still responsive. Come and let me show you that I have not moved away just because you are disappointed in yourself. Look around, my child. Look back over your life and notice how many times I was already drawing you before you fully turned. Look at the moments when you felt uneasy before you had language for it. Look at the times you knew something was off and could not enjoy what once tempted you the same way. Look at the moments when your spirit kept nudging you even while your flesh still wanted the wrong thing. That was not condemnation. That was me. That was my love staying close enough to call you back before you wandered too far. I have been watching for your return in ways more patient than you understand. I have been waiting for your heart to soften without forcing it. I have been standing near the places where you are most likely to drift, not with suspicion, but with compassion. I know what you carry. I know how long some of these battles have lasted. I know how ashamed you sometimes feel that you are still wrestling with things you thought would be behind you by now. But I am not surprised by your process, and I am not disgusted by your struggle. I am deeply committed to your restoration. So turn. Turn now. Turn quickly. Turn honestly. Do not waste time proving to yourself how bad the distance feels before you come back. I already know. Let the distance be brief. Let the return be immediate. Let my nearness become the first place you run, not the last place you crawl after everything else fails. That is what I have been waiting for. Not your collapse. Your turn. Not your humiliation. Your surrender. Not your downfall. Your homecoming. And if you can begin to believe that, truly believe it, then the next time you feel me watching, you will not brace for punishment. You will recognize love standing at the edge of your private battle, hand extended, waiting for you to reach back before the wound goes deeper than it ever needed to. My child, I want you to pay close attention to what has been happening inside you lately, because you have been calling some things stress that are actually much more personal than that. You have felt unsettled in moments that should have felt simple. You have walked away from certain conversations with a heaviness you could not explain. You have noticed that some of the things you used to run toward do not satisfy you the way they once did. You have felt a strange discomfort in places that once felt familiar. You have found yourself reaching for distractions that no longer numb you the same way. And because you could not easily explain it, you told yourself you were just overthinking, or maybe just tired, or maybe just in a strange season. But I want you to stop dismissing what your spirit hath been trying to tell you. Some of that restlessness is me. Some of that uneasiness is not confusion. Some of that inner friction is not random emotional noise. It is my love refusing to let you become comfortable in places that are quietly draining you. I need you to hear this deeply, because if you misunderstand this, you will keep trying to medicate the very signal that is trying to save you. When I begin drawing you closer, things that once felt normal start feeling off. When I begin reclaiming deeper ground in your inner life, compromises that used to blend into the background begin to stand out sharply. When your spirit starts waking up, old comforts begin to feel counterfeit. A discomfort is not cruelty. It is not rejection. It is not me punishing you with a sensitive conscience just to make your life harder. It is mercy. It is my hand pressing against the false peace you have leaned on for too long. It is the holy disturbance that happens when I love you too much to let you keep making a home in places that cannot hold your soul safely. You have asked for peace, but sometimes when peace begins approaching, it first disrupts what hath been pretending to be peace. You have asked for healing, but healing does not always arrive as immediate comfort. Sometimes healing begins by making you aware of what has been hurting you all along. You have asked me to draw you close, but closeness with me will often make you less able to enjoy what was once quietly numbing you. That is not because I want you miserable. It is because I want you free. And freedom often starts with discontent in the wrong places. Think about your own life for a moment. Look around your recent days. How many times have you felt that subtle but steady inner signal that something is not sitting right? How many times have you tried to ignore it because dealing with it felt inconvenient? How many times have you called discernment anxiety because anxiety felt easier to explain? How many times have you rushed to quiet the discomfort before asking what it was trying to reveal? My child, stop doing that. Pause. Date. Listen. Let the discomfort speak before you silence it. Let your spirit finish the sentence before your habits interrupt it. Do not be so quick to escape the very tension that may be exposing where you have been settling. You are not crazy. You are not just becoming too sensitive. You are not broken because certain things no longer fit the way they once did. In many ways, that is evidence of growth. That is evidence that my nearness is becoming harder for your soul to ignore. That is evidence that what once passed as normal is now being measured against a deeper hunger for truth, rest, and real peace. I have been watching you closely in these moments because I know how easy it is for you to resent the restlessness rather than receive it. But do not resent what may be rescuing you. Do not label as annoying what may actually be holy. Do not call the loss of counterfeit comfort a setback when it may be the beginning of real transformation. Come here. Sit with me in the tension. Let me show you what the restlessness is pointing toward. Let me uncover what your soul has been trying to say while your mind keeps looking for the quickest way out. And because this restlessness is so personal, I need you to understand that it is often attached to the places where you have been negotiating with yourself. There are things you already know do not fit who you are becoming, but you have kept them close because they are familiar. There are habits you know leave you emptier, but they are predictable, and predictability can feel safe when life has been uncertain. There are conversations you keep allowing because part of you still craves what they seem to offer, even though your peace leaves every time. There are thought patterns you have been tolerating because they feel old and known, even though they keep dragging your heart back into the same tired places. There are emotional attachments that no longer nourish you, but you have kept them alive because releasing them would require grieving what they never truly became. I know all of that. I see the emotional bargains you make. I see the small compromises you label as harmless. I see the places where your spirit checks you, but your mind starts defending what your soul is already tired of carrying. That is why the restlessness grows. That is why what once felt manageable now feels heavier. It is not always because the thing itself changed. Sometimes it is because I have been pressing closer, and my nearness exposes what your survival habits learn to normalize. This is where I want you to become brave in a new way. Do not just ask, why do I feel off? Ask, what am I still tolerating that my spirit is no longer willing to call peace? That question matters. Ask it honestly. Ask it without defensiveness. Ask it without immediately rushing to protect what is familiar. Then stay with me long enough to hear the answer. You already know some of it. Deep down, you do. There are places in your life where you have been trying to keep one foot in comfort and one foot in calling. There are places where you have wanted the peace I offer while still clinging to the patterns that quietly sabotage it. There are places where you have wanted clarity while protecting confusion because confusion delays the pain of change. My child, I am not speaking this to shame you. I am speaking it because I love you enough to be specific. Vague spirituality will not free you from precise patterns. General longing will not break specific agreements. If something keeps costing you peace, stop pretending the price is of clear. If something keeps leaving you spiritually cloudy, stop calling it harmless. If something keeps pulling you away from honesty, stop treating it like a small issue just because it has become familiar. Name it. Bring it here. Hold it in the light. Ask me to show you whether the restlessness is pointing directly at that thing. And if it is, do not delay your response. This is where I want more than your awareness. I want your action. Step back. Close the door. Mute the conversation. End the cycle. Leave the atmosphere. Unfollow the trigger. Walk away from the room. Do not keep praying for peace while protecting the source of your unrest. I am not asking you to live in fear. I am asking you to stop making peace harder than it needs to be. I know change can feel costly. I know release can feel like loss at first. I know letting go of what is familiar can make you feel exposed. But what you call familiar has often become a soft prison. What you call manageable has often become a drain. What you call not that serious has often become the background leak that keeps your soul from feeling steady. So receive my restlessness as a gift, not a punishment. It is the alarm before the damage deepens. It is the warning before the wind grows. It is the holy ache that tells you your soul is no longer willing to live beneath what I am calling it into. So now I want to give you both comfort and instruction, because I do not want you leaving this moment with inspiration only. I want you leaving with direction. The next time you feel that subtle unrest, do not reach first for distraction. Reach for awareness. Ask me what is being exposed. The next time something leaves your spirit unsettled, do not immediately assume you are just emotional. Sit down. Slow your breathing. Let the noise quiet. Then ask, Lord, what am I refusing to admit? The next time an old comfort suddenly feels empty, do not run to replace it with another false comfort. Stay in the emptiness long enough for me to show you what your soul is actually hungry for. The next time you walk away from something feeling strangely heavy, do not just move on. Review it. Pray over it. Let me teach you through it. Look around, my child. Look at the patterns. Look at what keeps unsettling you. Look at what keeps dimming your peace. Look at what your spirit keeps reacting to even when your emotions still want it. That reaction is not your enemy. That is your spirit becoming alive to truth again. That is what happens when my presence becomes more real to you than your old coping systems. That is what happens when I begin lifting you out of the fog you learned to function in. So stop fighting the holy friction. Welcome it. Let it guide you. Let it refine you. Let it interrupt what has been quietly stealing from you. I have been watching your restlessness not because I enjoy seeing you uncomfortable, but because I know what your soul could become if you stopped settling. I know what peace could feel like in you if you stopped protecting what keeps disturbing it. I know what clarity could look like if you stopped calling compromise normal. I know what joy could return if you stopped feeding the things that dull your spirit. That is why I am saying this with such care and such strength. Do not numb what I am trying to use. Do not silence what I am trying to reveal. Do not run from the ache if the ache is leading you toward freedom. Bring it to me. Sit with me in it. Let it become revelation. Let it become repentance where needed. Let it become release. Let it become the turning point where you finally stop asking why you feel unsettled and start allowing that holy discomfort to lead you out of places that were never truly peace in the first place. My child, you have asked me for clarity more times than you realize, not always with formal prayer, but in the honest way your heart cries out when life feels crowded, confusing, and heavy. You have asked, Lord, are you trying to tell me something? You have wondered, was that you? You have looked for reassurance, direction, confirmation, and comfort. And I want to answer you plainly now, because I do not want you to keep overlooking what I have been doing right in front of you. I have been leaving signs all around you. I have not been silent. I have not been absent. I have not been withholding direction while watching you stumble in the dark. I have been speaking more often than you think, but you have sometimes dismissed what was sacred because it arrived quietly. You have called it coincidence when it was care. You have called it random when it was response. You have called it timing when it was tenderness. You have called it just a weird feeling when it was discernment. You have called it something told me when it was my spirit leaning close. I have been there in the repeated themes that keep showing up when your heart is ready to hear something you keep avoiding. I have been there in the conversations that hit too close to home to be accidental. I have been there in the message that reached you at the exact moment you were considering something you should not have been considering. I have been there in the unexpected delay that irritated you at first but later protected you from what would have gone wrong. I have been there in the door that closed and then gave you peace after the initial sting wore off. I have been there in the uneasy feeling you could not shake before you made a choice. I have been there in the deep calm that settled over you in a moment that should have been overwhelming. I have been there in the dream that lingered longer than ordinary dreams do. I have been there in the sudden thought to pray, the sudden urge to leave, the sudden sense that something was off, the sudden softness that kept you from speaking out of anger, the sudden memory that surfaced right when you needed it. My child, those things are not always small. You have made them small because you were not sure how to trust them, but I want you to stop shrinking what I have been using. I do not always write across the sky. I do not always shake the room. I do not always arrive with drama. Sometimes I guide with a whisper because I am training your spirit to recognize me in the ordinary. Sometimes I repeat a theme because your heart is ready but still hesitant. Sometimes I let something happen twice, 3 times, in different ways, not to be theatrical, but to make it harder for you to dismiss. That is not manipulation. That is mercy. That is me leaning in because I know you are slower to trust what you cannot control. I know you like certainty. I know you prefer things you can explain neatly. I know you get nervous when guidance feels subtle because subtlety requires sensitivity, and sensitivity requires stillness, and stillness has often been uncomfortable for you. But I am inviting you now into a more mature awareness. Stop waiting only for dramatic signs while overlooking the daily ways I am already guiding you. Stop asking for confirmation while ignoring the pattern that has already been repeated enough times to get your attention. Stop calling repeated inner checks nothing just because they are inconvenient. Stop brushing past the things that keep returning. Slow down. Review your recent days. Look back carefully. Where have you seen repeated nudges? Where has the same truth kept showing up? Where have you felt peace in one direction and pressure in another? Where has a warning stayed with you longer than it should have if it were only random? Those places matter. That repetition matters. I have been using it because repetition, when it comes with spiritual weight, is not always redundancy. Sometimes it is rescue. Sometimes it is me making sure the message gets through before the moment passes. And because I have been leaving signs, I also want you to understand why I sometimes allow the same kind of message to keep reaching you in different forms. It is not because I enjoy making you uncomfortable. It is because I know how easily you rationalize what your spirit already recognizes. I know how quickly you can talk yourself out of discernment if obedience feels costly. I know how easily you can reinterpret a warning if your emotions are attached to the outcome you want. That is why I sometimes confirm something through multiple doors. A private uneasiness, then a conversation, then a delayed plan, then a message that lands with unusual force, then a sudden loss of peace when you move toward the wrong thing. That layering is not accidental. That is my kindness becoming persistent. That is my voice circling the same issue because I love you too much to let your own rationalizations carry the whole room. Think of your life right now. There are likely places where I have already been doing exactly this. There are patterns I have highlighted more than once. There are choices I have unsettled more than once. There are relationships I have warned you about more than once. There are habits I have made heavier more than once. There are truths I have placed in front of you from different angles because I know one angle might not have been enough for you to trust. My child, do not insult your own discernment by pretending you have no idea what I might be saying when I have already repeated it in tenderness. Be honest. You know some of it. You have known some of it for a while. You just have not wanted the implications. You have not wanted what obedience would require. You have not wanted the ending, the boundary, the confession, the release, the change in rhythm, the conversation, the letting go, the stepping back, the deeper surrender. I understand that. I know obedience can feel costly in the short term, but disobedience is often far more expensive than it first appears. It charges interest in the hidden places. It drains peace, dulls clarity, weakens discernment, and stretches small compromises into larger consequences over time. That is why I have been leaving signs. That is why I have been repeating myself in the language of your life. Not to frustrate you, but to preserve you. So do not just admire the signs. Respond to them. If the same warning keeps returning, stop asking for a fourth confirmation and obey the 3 you already have. If the same discomfort keeps surfacing, stop assuming it will disappear if you ignore it long enough. If the same truth keeps finding you, stop calling it coincidence because coincidence is easier than surrender. I want more from you now. I want your trust to mature. I want your response to become quicker. I want you to stop waiting until everything becomes obvious enough to remove all need for faith. Faith often acts before the sky clears. Faith obeys while the signal is still gentle. Faith does not require drama when the pattern is already clear. So ask yourself honestly, what has God been repeating to me lately? Then do not just write the answer down. Move on it. Take the step. Make the call. And the access. Set the boundary. Change the habit. Open the conversation. Leave the place. Release the fantasy. Come back to me in the area where I have already been speaking. That is how signs become transformation instead of just emotional moments you remember later. So hear me now with all the warmth and all the weight I can place into these words. Stop calling it coincidence. Stop dismissing what your spirit has recognized simply because your mind wants a cleaner explanation. Stop shrinking the holy into something casual because the holy arrived quietly. Look around, my child. Review your recent path. Where did the same message keep appearing? Where did the same check in your spirit keep rising? Where did peace increase when you stepped back? Where did peace leave when you moved closer to something you should have left alone? Where did a repeated delay become a repeated warning? Where did a repeated invitation become a repeated test? Where did my hand keep touching the same area of your life from different angles? That is where I have been speaking. That is where I have been signaling. That is where I have been standing close enough to make sure you do not say later, "I had no idea." You may not know every detail yet, but you know enough to take the next step. And that is what I am asking for now. Not complete certainty. The next step. Not a fully mapped future. The next act of obedience. Not perfect clarity in every direction. The courage to respond where I have already made myself clear. Come on, my child. Do not stay in the hallway of hesitation. Do not keep staring at signs as if they are decorations. They are directions. They are invitations. They are warnings. They are gifts. They are my way of saying, I am here. I see the road ahead. Trust me enough to move. I have been watching your life with care too deep to leave you unguided. I have been planting clues with precision. I have been arranging moments with tenderness. I have been confirming things because I know your heart needs reassurance when change feels costly. But now I want more than your recognition. I want your response. Answer the nudge. Respect the pattern. Follow the peace. Honor the warning. And when you do, you will begin to realize something beautiful. The signs were never about making your life feel mysterious. They were about making my nearness unmistakable. They were about teaching you that you are not wandering without a father's eye on you. They were about showing you that even in ordinary days, I have been guiding, guarding, correcting, comforting, and calling. So stop brushing past the breadcrumbs of grace I have been leaving all around your life. Gather them. Follow them. Let them lead you. I am not hiding from you, my child. I am teaching you how to recognize me. And once you stop calling my fingerprints coincidence, your whole life will begin to feel less like confusion and more like a conversation with the one who has been watching over you all along. My child, come closer and listen carefully, because this is where your heart has often become overwhelmed. You keep trying to make sense of your life from inside the immediate moment, and the immediate moment is often loud, heavy, and emotionally persuasive. A bill arrives. A relationship shifts. A delay stretches longer than you expected. A conversation bruises your heart. A temptation rises. A memory returns. A door closes. A body grows tired. A prayer seems unanswered. And suddenly that one moment starts feeling bigger than your whole story. I know how that feels from where you stand. I know how quickly one difficult hour can color your whole perspective. I know how a single disappointment can make the future feel dimmer than it really is. I know how easily you can start measuring your life by what is hurting right now instead of by what I am building over time. But I need you to hear me in a deeper way than before. I do not only see what is in front of you. I see what is in front of you. I see the road after the road. I see the ripple after the choice. I see what this season is producing even when all you can feel is what it is costing. That is why my watching over you is so much more than observation. I am not simply looking at your present. I am guarding your future while you are still reacting to your present. I know what that one message would awaken if you sent it. I know what that one compromise would normalize if you allowed it. I know what that one relationship would slowly teach your heart to accept if it continued. I know what that one delay is protecting you from, and I know what that one season of waiting is preparing you to carry. You call it just one moment, but I see the momentum behind it. You call it just one decision, but I see the direction it creates. You call it just one conversation, but I see what it plants in your soul and what it might harvest months later if you keep watering it. That is why I interrupt you sometimes before you understand why. That is why I remove peace before you fully step into something that looked harmless. That is why I let uneasiness sit in your chest longer than you would prefer. That is why I sometimes close doors so suddenly that you barely have time to process it before they are gone. It is not because I am making your life harder. It is because I am seeing farther. I am not trying to deprive you of relief. I am protecting what your relief would cost if it is chosen carelessly. My child, let this settle into you. The reason I am sometimes firm is because the future I am guarding is precious. The life I have marked for you is not small. The peace I want to establish in you is not shallow. The clarity I want you to live with is not fragile. And because what I am building in you is weighty, I cannot let every moment be ruled by how the moment feels. Some things that feel good now would make you weaker later. Some things that feel painful now will make you stronger later. Some things that feel like loss now are actually removing what would have become poison later. Some things that feel confusing now will become obvious, my child. Stay here with me for this, because this is one of the places where your heart has carried the most quiet pain. You have lived through seasons where nothing seemed to move the way you hoped. You prayed and waited. You asked and listened. You tried to stay faithful. You tried to keep your heart soft. You tried to believe that I was near. But the days stretched. The answers did not come the way you expected, and what began as patience slowly started feeling like ache. I know those seasons. I watched you in them. I saw the mornings when you woke up hoping something would finally shift. I saw the nights when you went to bed disappointed again because what you longed for still had not arrived. I saw the way you kept checking the same emotional doorway, the same practical doorway, the same relational doorway, hoping the handle would finally turn. I saw the weariness that grew when nothing obvious changed. I saw the questions you asked in silence because you did not want to sound ungrateful, but your heart was tired and needed answers. Why is this taking so long? Did I miss something? Am I being punished? Did you forget me? Why do others seem to move ahead while I am still standing here? My child, I heard every one of those questions, even the ones you never finished. And I need you to hear me with both tenderness and strength. Those delays were not empty. That waiting was not wasted. My silence was not absence. I was rebuilding you in secret. I was working in places no one else could see, and many times, not even you could see it clearly because you were measuring progress by movement around you while I was measuring progress by transformation within you. You wanted the door. I was strengthening the person who would walk through it. You wanted the answer. I was maturing the heart that would carry the answer without breaking under its weight. You wanted the relationship, the breakthrough, the change, the release, the relief. And I understand that. I do not mock those desires. I planted many of them. But I love you too deeply to give you what your spirit is not yet steady enough to hold. So while you called it delay, I was removing what would have sabotaged you later. While you called it silence, I was untangling your motives, healing your wounds, exposing false dependencies, stripping away illusions, and teaching you how to hear me without constant external proof. That kind of work does not always make noise. That kind of work often happens under the surface. It happens in the hidden chambers of the heart. It happens in the subtle shifts of what no longer satisfies you. It happens in the discomfort that reveals what still needs to be surrendered. It happens in the way your reactions slowly begin to change. It happens in the way old patterns start losing their grip. It happens in the way your hunger starts becoming cleaner, deeper, less desperate, less attached to quick relief. My child, that is not small work. That is sacred work. That is foundation work. And if I had rushed to give you what you asked for before that work was done, you might have received the gift but lost your peace. You might have gotten the door but brought the wrong baggage through it. You might have entered the promise with the same old fears, the same old habits, the same old wounds, the same old need for control, and then wondered why what should have blessed you started feeling heavy. I know what I am protecting. I know what I am preparing. I know what you asked for, and I know what that answer will require from you once it arrives. That is why some delays were not denials. They were construction zones in the spirit. They were sacred spaces where I was doing quiet work with eternal consequences. So stop calling every slow season abandonment. Stop assuming that because you cannot see visible movement, nothing is happening. Stop insulting the hidden work just because it does not satisfy your timeline. Come closer. Let me teach you how to honor what is growing in the dark. Seeds do not shout while they root. Foundations do not sparkle while they set. Deep work rarely announces itself while it is still forming. But it matters. It matters more than the visible things you keep fixating on. I have been watching you in the waiting, and I have not been idle for 1 second. And because I know how painful waiting can become when your heart is already tired, I want to speak to the emotional damage that delay can cause if you let it sit too long without truth. Delay can tempt you to compare. Delay can tempt you to assume that someone else is more favored because their path looks faster. Delay can tempt you to lower your standards because you get tired of hoping at the level I asked you to hope. Delay can tempt you to settle for partial peace, premature connections, counterfeit opportunities, or rushed decisions simply because the ache of waiting becomes louder than the wisdom of trust. I have seen that temptation in you. I have seen the moments when you always said yes to something simply because it arrived sooner, not because it was truly right. I have seen the moments when you considered reopening doors I had already closed because at least they were familiar. And familiar can feel safer than uncertainty when the waiting stretches long. I have seen the moments when you nearly talked yourself into believing that almost right was close enough because you were exhausted by the silence. That is why I want you to understand this clearly. The longer the wait, the more careful you must become with what tries to present itself as relief. Not everything that breaks the silence is my answer. Not everything that shows up in your waiting is sent to bless you. Some things arrive simply to test whether delay has weakened your discernment. Some things show up to see whether weariness has made you easier to access. Some things come dressed as provision but are really invitations to settle beneath what I prepared. That is why my watching becomes even more intense in your waiting seasons. I know how vulnerable a tired heart can be. I know how seductive quick answers can look when your soul has been hungry for movement. I know how easy it is to mistake motion for progress when you have been standing still for too long. But my child, do not let the ache of waiting make you cheap with your yes. Guard your heart. Guard your standards. Guard your spirit. Guard the promises I placed in you. Do not hand sacred things to urgent feelings. Do not surrender long-term peace to short-term relief. If something is truly from me, it will not require you to betray the work I have been doing in secret. It will not ask you to silence your discernment. It will not demand that you override the peace I have been training you to honor. It will not ask you to trade clarity for speed. That is why I need you to become more disciplined in the wait, not less. When the silence stretches, pray deeper, not just louder. When the answer seems slow, examine your heart, not just the door. When nothing seems to move, ask what is moving in you. Ask what no longer feels the same. Ask what old attachments are weakening. Ask what desires are being purified. Ask what false comforts are being exposed. Ask what control is being loosened. Ask what fear is being named. Ask what version of you is quietly dying so a truer one can live. These are not distractions from your prayer. They are often the answer, forming within your prayer. The waiting season is not just about what you are waiting for. It is about who you are becoming while you wait. And I have seen more change in you than you realize. You have become slower to run to certain things. You have become more aware of what steals your peace. You have become more sensitive to what is counterfeit. You have become less satisfied by shallow comfort. You have become more honest about what is really hurting. You have become more teachable in some places, more tender in others, more aware of your need for me, more conscious of how quickly the wrong thing can feel right when you are lonely or tired. That is growth. Quiet growth, yes. Hidden growth, yes. But real growth. Do not despise it just because it did not come with fireworks. Do not call yourself stagnant when I can see roots deepening beneath the surface. Roots matter. Roots keep you standing when the wind comes. Roots keep blessing from becoming burden. Roots keep open doors from becoming collapsing rooms. I have been strengthening your roots in secret, and that is love, not neglect. So now I want to give you a direct instruction, because I do not want this to remain something you simply feel. I want it to become something you live. Stop resenting the hidden season. Stop speaking over your waiting as if it is proof that I am late. Stop rehearsing the lie that nothing is happening. Start asking better questions. Ask me, what are you building in me right now? Ask me, what would I mishandle if I got the answer too soon? Ask me, what part of me are you protecting from being carried into the next season? Then stay with me long enough to hear what your soul has been avoiding. And while you wait, do not sit in passive frustration. Repair. Clean the inner room. Strengthen the weak places. Release what no longer fits. And the access points that keep draining your peace. Practice the obedience you will need later. Learn how to rest now, because the next season will require steadiness. Learn how to hear me now, because the next season will come with more noise. Learn how to guard your peace now, because the next season will bring more visibility, more pressure, more decisions, more voices, and you will need the quiet strength I have been cultivating in secret. Look around, my child. Look back over the delays that once broke your heart. How many of them now make more sense than they did before? How many times did what felt like painful silence later reveal itself as protection, preparation, or purification? How many times did you eventually see that if I had answered you earlier, you would have entered with the wrong attachments, the wrong expectations, or the wrong emotional weight? That pattern is not accidental. That is my faithfulness. That is my wisdom outrunning your impatience. That is my love refusing to hand you a future you were not yet healed enough to enjoy. So breathe. Relax your grip. Stop staring at the clock as if time alone tells the story. Let me be God in the hidden places. Let me do the work that does not impress the world but secures your soul. Let me keep shaping you where no one applauds. Let me keep rebuilding what pain weakened. Let me keep clearing the old rubble so the next thing I place in your hands has somewhere stable to stand. I have not forgotten you in the delay. I have not ignored you in the silence. I have been with you, near you, watching you, rebuilding you, protecting you from premature answers, preserving you from counterfeit relief, and preparing a version of you that will be able to step into what is coming without losing the peace I am teaching you now. So stay with me. Trust the hidden work. Honor the secret season. Do not run ahead because you are tired. Do not settle because you are lonely. Do not force movement because silence makes you uncomfortable. Stay under my hand. Stay near my voice. Let me finish what I started in the dark, because when the time comes and the door finally opens, you will not merely say, "At last." You will say, with deeper understanding than before, "Now I see why he waited. Now I see why he watched so closely. Now I see why the delay was not empty. It was love, doing quiet work where only heaven could see." My child, you have heard how I rebuild lives in secret seasons and prepare hearts before the door opens. And now I say to you, if this message has awakened your spirit, then do not keep the light hidden in your own house. When you support this mission through super thanks, membership, or a PayPal donation in the description, you are planting seeds into a field of waiting hearts, people who feel forgotten, yet whom I am quietly preparing. I have declared, give, and it shall be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, and my word does not return empty. Your offering becomes water in a dry land, oil in a weary lamp, bread for souls who are starving for hope. When you sense the urge to help this message travel farther, understand this. It is my spirit inviting you into the harvest I am raising in hidden places across the earth. I watch how my children respond when the moment arrives, and I bless the hands that build what heaven is sending. So respond with faith. Give through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link below, and become part of the quiet work I am doing in hearts around the world. My child, I need you to hear this with seriousness, because too many times you have blamed yourself for everything without recognizing that there are real spiritual pressures around you. There are moments when what you feel is not just mood. There are days when the heaviness is not merely stress. There are times when the confusion that suddenly rolls in, the irritation that rises too quickly, the hopelessness that shows up without warning, the strange pull toward old habits, the unusual tension after certain conversations, the heaviness that enters a room, the fog that settles over your mind, the sudden urge to isolate, the sudden urge to give up, the sudden desire to numb out. These things are not always random. The battle around you is real. The enemy does study patterns. He does look for openings. He does know how to lean on old wounds, old cravings, old insecurities, old fears. He knows how to use exhaustion, offense, loneliness, and disappointment as entry points. He knows how to make something small feel enormous in a weak hour. He knows how to amplify what is already fragile. I am telling you this not to make you fearful, but to make you awake. You cannot fight what you refuse to recognize. You cannot guard a gate you pretend does not exist. You cannot walk in freedom if you keep calling every spiritual attack just how I am. Some of what you have been tolerating is not your identity. Some of what you have been naming as personality is actually pressure. Some of what you have been calling weakness is actually warfare meeting unhealed places. And I want you to stop agreeing with what I never named as you. You are not the sudden heaviness. You are not the intrusive fear. You are not the condemning voice. You are not the lie that tells you nothing will ever change. You are not the urge that rises in your most tired moments. You are not the mental storm that tries to define you by your lowest thoughts. Those things may press against you, but they are not your name. They are not your identity. They are not the truest thing about you. My child, I need you to separate the battle from the self. That one shift will help you more than you know. When heaviness comes, do not automatically say, "This is just me." Ask, "What is pressing on me right now?" When confusion suddenly grows loud, do not immediately trust the confusion. Ask, "What happened before this? What door opened? What thought did I entertain? What environment am I in? What wound just got touched?" That is not paranoia. That is spiritual sobriety. I have been watching these patterns in your life for a long time. I know the atmospheres that weaken you. I know the voices that drain you. I know the places that make your discernment dull. I know the content that clouds your peace. I know the unresolved wounds the enemy still tries to poke because he knows they can still sting. I know the times of day when your guard is lower. I know the kind of loneliness that makes you easier to tempt. I know the disappointments that make old lies louder. And because I know all of that, I have not left you defenseless. I have been warning you. I have been checking your spirit. I have been disturbing false peace. I have been removing comfort from things that are not safe for you. I have been leaving signs. I have been nudging you away from certain people, certain pattern, certain station, certain rhythm. I have been doing that because the battle is real. But hear the deeper truth now. The battle around you may be real, but my hand on you is greater. My authority is greater. My covering is greater. My wisdom is greater. My power is greater. The enemy may study your weaknesses, but I form your spirit. He may know where you are tired, but I know how to strengthen you. He may know what hurt you, but I know how to heal what he keeps trying to exploit. He may try to circle, but he does not own you. He may whisper, but he does not get the final word. He may press, but he cannot define what I have already claimed. Let that truth settle deep. You are not unprotected in this battle. You are not exposed without help. You are not wandering through the dark without a Father's eye on you. I have been near. I have been watching. I have been standing closer than you realize. And because my hand is greater, I want you to stop responding to spiritual pressure as if all you can do is endure it. You have become too passive in some places. You have gotten used to carrying certain heavinesses as if they are normal. You have learned to coexist with certain mental storms instead of confronting them. You have accepted some recurring cycles as if they are inevitable. My child, listen to me carefully. Not every battle is meant to be merely survived. Some things are meant to be resisted. Some things are meant to be rebuked. Some things are meant to be cut off. Some things are meant to be starved, not entertained. Some things are meant to be answered with truth, not analyzed until they grow roots. I know you tend to internalize everything. You tend to turn every struggle inward and ask what is wrong with you. Sometimes that question is useful. Sometimes it reveals what needs healing. But sometimes it becomes a trap because it keeps you staring at yourself while the real issue is that an old pressure is pressing again and needs to be met with clarity, boundary, prayer, and refusal. So I want to teach you a firmer posture. When the sudden lie comes, challenge it. When the old pull rises, interrupt it. When the atmosphere shifts, pay attention. When the heaviness settles, do not just sit under it and call it your personality. Pray. Speak truth. Change the environment. Turn off the noise. Leave the room. Refuse the conversation. Reject the narrative. Open your mouth. Call my name. Invite my presence actively, not passively. You have more authority than you have been living with. You have more access to my strength than you have been using. And I want you to stop acting like you are helpless in moments where I am asking you to participate in your own protection. I am with you, yes. I am covering you. Yes. I am watching you. Yes. But I also want you to respond. I want you to cooperate with the warnings I give. I want you to honor the boundaries I show. I want you to stop reopening what I already exposed. I want you to stop entertaining what you already know steals from you. If I make something feel off, do not argue yourself into staying. If your peace leaves, do not override it. If I keep showing you the same pattern, stop asking for more proof and act. This is where freedom grows stronger. It grows when your discernment becomes obedience. It grows when your awareness becomes action. It grows when your sensitivity becomes surrender. And let me say something else because you need it. Sometimes the battle intensifies not because you are losing ground, but because you are taking it back. Sometimes the resistance gets louder because you are closer to release. Sometimes the pressure increases because what once had easy access is beginning to lose it. Do not let increased tension always convince you something is wrong. Sometimes it means something holy is shifting. Sometimes it means an old agreement is breaking. Sometimes it means the thing that has fed on your passivity is discovering that you are finally becoming serious about peace. That is why I need you steady, not scared. Alert, not anxious. Honest, not dramatic. The enemy loves extremes because extremes keep you unstable. But I am teaching you sobriety, calm strength, clear response, deep rootedness, quiet authority. The kind of inner posture that does not panic when the battle shows up, because it already knows whose hand is stronger. That is what I am building in you now. That is why I have been watching so closely. I do not want you only comforted. I want you trained. I want you to recognize what is happening faster. I want you to identify access points sooner. I want you to know when something is trying to pull you, press you, confuse you, accuse you, or bait you. And I want you to stop treating that recognition like a burden. It is protection. It is maturity. It is part of how I keep you free. So now, receive this as both warning and reassurance. Do not be naive about the battle, but do not be intimidated by it either. Be away. Be honest. Be disciplined. Guard your gates. Guard your words. Guard your atmosphere. Guard your late hours. Guard your lowly hours. Guard what enters your eyes, what lingers in your mind, what stays in your ears, what keeps stirring your emotions in unhealthy ways. Do not call this legalism. This is stewardship. This is how you honor the peace I am building in you. This is how you stop leaving doors open and then wondering why the room feels heavy. This is how you stop making yourself easy to reach. And when pressure comes anyway, because sometimes it will, do not shrink. Stand. Speak my name. Pray plainly. Lord, cover me. Lord, expose the lie. Lord, strengthen my mind. Lord, shut the door I keep reopening. Lord, help me refuse what feels familiar but is not safe. These are not weak prayers. These are warfare prayers from a child who knows where help comes from. Look around, my child. Look at how many times you were protected and did not even realize it. Look at how many moments the battle could have gone further, but something interrupted it. Look at how many nights you should have spiraled deeper, but somehow you were pulled back. Look at how many times an urge lost momentum, a lie lost its grip, a conversation ended sooner than expected, a door closed, a distraction failed, a heaviness lifted, a moment passed, and later you realized you had been spared from something worse. That was not luck. That was not chance. That was my hand. That was my covering. That was my watchful love standing between you and what wanted more access than I was willing to allow. So do not live like someone abandoned in battle. Live like someone covered. Live like someone watched over. Live like someone whose father is not merely observing from far away but actively guarding, warning, interrupting, strengthening, and teaching. The battle around you is real, yes, but my hand on you is greater. My authority over your life is greater. My purpose in you is greater. My peace is stronger than the pressure. My truth is stronger than the lie. My presence is stronger than the atmosphere. My love is stronger than what hunts your weakness. So come under that truth fully. Stop shrinking. Stop assuming every battle means defeat is near. Some battles are simply reminders that what is inside you matters enough to be fought over. And if it is worth fighting over, then it is worth guarding with me. Stand up. Stay close. Listen quickly. Obey faster. And remember, in every hidden struggle, every late night pressure, every sudden heaviness, every internal storm, you are not standing there alone. I am already there. My eyes are on you. My hand is on you. My voice is near you. And what is trying to reach you does not have more authority than the Father who has already claimed you as his own.